Welcome, dear listeners. I'm Jonathan Carlin.
And I'm Benjamin Carlin.
And we invite you to join us through the Griffin door, your one-way ticket to the enchanting world of Harry Potter. So grab your wands and dust off your broomsticks and join us as we unlock the mysteries behind Prisoner of Azkaban, Chapter 10, The Marauder's Map.
Man, Prisoner of Azkaban really does introduce some major plot elements, does it
does,
not?
yeah. I mean, the map, it feels like it changes everything, you know?
The map is pretty massive to like Harry's success over the years. I mean, it's a seriously powerful piece of magic.
It is an object that, like, after the fact, it was like maybe Harry has too much information.
Maybe
like he has to keep finding ways to lose it for the rest of the story.
Right. Yes. Lupin at some point I feel like takes it from him. Moody
takes it from him.
Yeah, and then of course once you get to Deathly Hallows, it's just sort of like
I'm just watching Ginny walk around. Whatever. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
He just misses his girlfriend.
He just misses their exes, dude. All right. She dumped him or vice versa. Whatever. Get over it.
He broke up with her.
Yeah.
It's for something noble, isn't it?
Yeah, it's for something noble, isn't it? Oh, man. I will say, before we dive too far in, just quick reminder that Through the Griffin tour is coming up fast in September from the 21st through the 29th. We're going to be going to Seattle, Portland, Sacramento, Berkeley, San Diego, and Los Angeles.
I know. I'm so excited about it. And San Diego and Seattle were both already sold out.
Yes.
So it was like, what? That's amazing. It's like 2 months to go. So we actually added second shows same day to both of those events. They're going to be, I like to call them manatees. Because I don't know where matinee comes from, and I think manatee just seems more fun.
It is more fun.
So we're going to have some manatee shows that day, and they will be unique shows. So if you're interested in like either doing a double header, or if you just didn't get tickets the first go round and want to see us earlier in the day, they're both Saturday shows, which is great.
So you'll have the day off anyway.
Right,
it works out very nicely.
Works well for your sketch. So hope to see you there.
Hope to see you there. Otherwise, tickets are still on sale for all other venues. And we have the meet and greets available where you can come meet us ahead of time. So I cannot wait. That's my favorite part, is meeting everybody.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And the VIP upgrade does come with a signed poster, as well. So you'll get that just like included in the price.
Every city will have a unique poster to it as well.
They do indeed. I know. Yeah. This is our illustrator Isabel does just such an absolutely amazing job. I feel like capturing each locale and sort of like merging it with the book that we're reading while we're there.
They're really cool.
They are really cool.
I think she's done with like most of Seattle and Portland so far, and they're just like epic.
You know what else is wild? Is that we're going to crack Goblet of Fire on tour.
Are we?
We will.
What?
Yes. So we will have to bring 2 books with us.
Oh my gosh! Well, that's going to be that'd be exciting for whatever show that is.
I'm going to need a whole extra checked bag just to carry Goblet.
There it is. Yeah. Boom, Goblet. All right, well, let's dive into Chapter 10, The Marauder's Map, where, the chapter art, first of all, just is the map itself. And I didn't even give this a 9 3/4 out of 10, Ben. I gave it a solid 10 out of 10.
I gave it an 11 out of 10.
An 11 out of 10, because to me, this is what the map looks like. If you, like, I know people, I love, like, the way they made the map look in the movie, where it like unfolds in 1,000 directions and stuff, like it's a cool visual prop and stuff, but like, I'm sorry, it's not how the map. It's too confusing. It's not useful. It's not helpful. It is like, it's too big and I don't like it.
I mean, it does seem like it's supposed to be like a piece of parchment that you could fold and put in your pocket.
Exactly.
And we have like the prop replica of the Marauder's map upstairs, and it is to suggest that you could like just stuff it into your cloak feels like a reach.
It is definitely supposed to look like a very old square piece of parchment that you could fold up or roll up or whatever. And that is what this looks like. To me, it looks like what I always thought of as the Marauder's map. Like, like the footsteps and stuff. Like, I get it. It's easier. It makes sense. It's like that person's walking around. Those are those footsteps. But like in the book, it's like little dots with labels rather than like these giant banners adorning their footsteps. And I'm like, the banners are too big. Like, you wouldn't be able to tell who's who. It doesn't make sense. We only ever get to see the map when Harry's looking at like one person alone in a corridor.
I know. The thing that crosses my mind that like even as I'm like looking at this photo, and this is totally one of those things where you like live in a world of touchscreens though. It's like I can almost imagine like the impulse to want to just like zoom in, like take your fingers and spread them apart on the map and be like, wait a second, who is that in the bathroom? Malfoy, what's he doing there?
Who's to say you can't? I would even buy that,
Yeah.
I'd be more okay with that than the unfolding forever map that doesn't make sense.
That's the new headcanon is that let's see, Mooney, Wormtail, Prongs, and Padfoot actually left Hogwarts, and instead of joining the Order of the Phoenix, go on to found Apple.
Go on to found Apple. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and then they use Steve Jobs as like their like figurehead.
Right. Yeah.
It's like
they're just behind the scenes.
You are our Muggle overlord who can be the front man, but really it's us in the background.
How do you really think Harry got all those galleons?
That's exactly. That's where all of his wealth comes from. Is
James invented iPhone?
Yeah, the computer.
Exactly.
But what feels less likely than that though?
That seems very unlikely. That's what happened. But yes. Artwork for Chapter 10, Marauder's Map. Spot on. Love it. So good. Let's see. Anyway, let's jump into the chapter. This is coming out of Harry's Quidditch match where he lost the Nimbus 2000. He lost the match. Cedric won, and Madame Pomfrey is keeping him in there. And he says he wouldn't let her throw away the shattered remnants of his Nimbus 2000, which I just thought was like, oh. Like he's just like it's such an attachment to it,
I know, yeah. It says he felt as though he lost one of his best friends. And
I know.
I mean, this was like, and it's so great too because it's like now that like this is chapter 10 and the next chapter in this exact book is called chapter 11, the Firebolt.
Right.
Which obviously like is like something new is coming.
Oh yeah.
However, yeah, like as a kid reading the story or having Dad read the story to us and the loss of the Nimbus 2000 was like just one of the most crushing blows. It was like
not like Nimbus.
It would be like if the invisibility cloak got like shredded. It's like don't even suggest such a thing.
Don't even say it.
I know. Yeah.
It is. I mean, it is. I think too because for Harry, like, but at this point in the story, like he doesn't realize like how good at defense against the dark arts he is, and like he has like a leg up on the other students in any capacity.
Right.
And like, from his point of view, the only thing that maybe he's like a little special at is like flying. It's like, I know I am naturally, instinctually good at that.
Right.
And this was me entering the wizarding world and discovering that not only was I was feeling nervous about being at magic school and never even knowing I was a wizard, but I got there and then I was immediately really good at something and it like made me fit in. It's like, that is what has been lost.
I know. And this is kind of like an interesting thing, like in the way that Harry as a character is developed, because like we've outlined a few instances where it seems that like Harry has clear instincts in the world in the world of defense against the dark arts. Like he has like a prickling on the back of his neck, I think, like when he can like detect that like Sirius is like nearby after leaving Privet Drive and stuff like that. So he's got like some natural born instincts, but like I feel like it would have been such a common trope at the time that this book was coming out for like your main character to go and basically like be the best at every subject and like just sort of like be like universally like he's the hero. So of course he's extremely good at everything. And it's like, that's never really been the case for Harry. Like it seems like the selection, the picking and choosing of his strengths, are obviously balanced by, Ron and Hermione in lots of ways.
Yeah.
Especially Hermione, who is just sort of like the encyclopedia of information.
It's like rather than making Harry good at everything, it's sort of like Hermione's basically good at everything that you would think would be the things that would make you the hero.
Right.
But instead, it's like Harry is good at all the intangible things like courage and selflessness and love and things like that.
Yeah, like the sort of like instinctual righteousness, I think even, like obviously later in this book when he chooses to like spare Peter Pettigrew's life, it's just there's lots of like little moments like that shine through. The ability to pull the Philosopher's Stone from the Mirror of Erised is another, I think, great example.
Yes.
Even
the Boggart being the Dementor.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So lots of like really cool stuff. But I mean, to bring it back to the broken broomstick, it's like you're right. Like the flying does feel like the chief accolade that he has been granted thus far.
Yeah. So far, of course, by the end of the story, that will change.
Yeah.
Or by the end of this book, that'll change. But I also think it's interesting that the Nimbus is broken beyond repair. Like that condition exists in the wizarding world, because it feels like if you were to just like drop a teapot or something and it just shattered into 1,000 pieces, it wouldn't be like I would assume you could just be like reparo and it's back
and it would like clinked back together. So this sort of goes back to like once upon a time we made a video that was breaking down like whether or not broomsticks were very similar to wands.
Yeah, you're right.
In that like do they have like a core that like kind of like runs through them? But this does sort of mirror like Harry's broken holly wand eventually, where it's like that is like one of it's like the chief thing that we know that the Elder Wand is capable of doing that suggests that Harry is in fact the true blue master of it, because he is able to repair his holly wand with it, something that no other wand, nor Ollivander himself, whose family's been making wands since like the year like 482 or something like that. So it's like that is the unachievable piece of magic. So like theoretically, Dumbledore as master of the Elder Wand probably could have
Dumbledore
could have fixed the Nimbus for Harry.
Throw the man a bone.
But I mean that's like one of those things where it's like this is part of like what Dumbledore's duty as the master of the Elder Wand himself is. It's like I was to own it, to tame it, to not brag of it, like to treat it in its most humble capacity. Which hilariously ends up being like taken from him after all this dutiful service to this like powerful object for his whole life, or at least since 1945 when he arguably takes it from Grindelwald.
Right.
And here he's made it, another 50 plus years later, and finally Draco Malfoy of all people is the one who successfully disarms him.
Just disarms him.
Come on, right at the finish line. He dies seconds later.
So close.
I know. Yep. Too bad.
There you go.
Anyways, so the big question there: do broomsticks have cores? I think they do.
I think they do, especially because even when Harry first gets them, he's like, maybe broomsticks were like horses, and they could tell, you were afraid or not. Because like I don't know, it wouldn't even surprise me if like what the cores were like thestral hares or something.
Definitely.
Like flying horses.
Yes.
Or there's like a variety of flying horses in Harry Potter, but like there is a moment where brooms act like horses.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And I mean, I think like a hippogriff feather, like I do think you could like enter into the realm of like different flying magical creatures as what could potentially be being injected. But you probably still have a phoenix feather if you so desired.
Oh.
Maybe that's what's in the fire bolt.
That's a great idea, like why it's called fire.
Yeah, the fire bolt.
The fire bolt.
Phoenix fire bolt.
Right, that's why they're so expensive, because like you get those phoenix feathers.
I know,
they ain't cheap, dude.
Terribly pricey.
Yeah. Probably not fox feathers, but
maybe that's the other thing too. Maybe Ollivander we always talk about how Ollivander sells Harry his wand for like 7 galleons or something like that. Maybe it was like he's like, dude, I've had this thing on the shelf for, I kid you not, like how many years has it been since 37?
Oh my gosh, it's been a long time.
Yeah, so it's like maybe Ollivander's like it's discounted clearance, red tag sale, 7 galleons.
Get it out.
Yeah, originally new, you're getting a steal. I was going to charge like 45 for it originally.
Yeah.
Anyway, so all that aside, so Harry, unlike Malfoy, does spend a little bit more time in the hospital wing for more serious reasons, I guess. Although, like, even the fact that he spends a whole weekend in the hospital wing seems unlike Madame Pomfrey's usual administrations when it comes to medical care.
Yeah.
Because Dumbledore does stop Harry with like a cushioning charm before he hits the ground, and it's not like when he had to like regrow the bones in his arm. So it's like, what actual injury has he like sustained here?
I don't know. Yeah, you're right. It's like what is injured other than just sort of like just sit still and rest.
Yeah. I mean, it's a traumatic event.
Maybe that.
Just got to like kind of get your bearings back a little bit.
Exactly. I do think it's interesting that, and I feel like I was thinking about this more, that it says Ginny Weasley, blushing furiously, turned up with a get well card she had made herself, which sang shrilly unless Harry kept it shut underneath his bowl of fruit. A sentence I completely forgot about. But what I like about this is that it is the second year in a row that Ginny has delivered Harry a singing something,
a gram,
a singing gram.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
but it's like because like I always think in like Lockhart, I'm always like, oh, was she like under the, like, it's easy to think like, was she under the influence of the diary or something? It's like, nope. Ginny just took Lockhart up on his deal to like deliver singing Cupid grams, and she was like, I am going to do it. Yeah, like, man, this is a great idea. This will make Harry like me. And she does it again, but it ties, but it's almost like what we were just talking about. It's like Ginny delivers Harry music twice. And music is like the power that's like greater than anything we teach here. Music falls in the same category as love in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And it's like, here, this is it. Ginny is using music to try and get Harry's love, you know?
I know, no, that's amazing. It's really good. And it's like, part of me almost even feels like this could be like a, because I feel like as Ginny gets a little bit older, you see some of the other characteristics of like her older siblings and her parents and stuff sort of like shine through to the surface. But like part of me almost even gets like little tiny like Fred and George vibes here, where it's like maybe kind of quirky, kind of funny, but somehow thoughtful at the same time.
Right.
And it's like this is like her sense of humor, and then the blushing is more coming from like a small morsel of like doubt that the humor won't land.
Right. Like, isn't this funny? Oh my gosh. Yeah. But seriously, well, I love you.
Well, let's get married someday.
Yeah. I also love Oliver Wood, our favorite character, shows up to talk to Harry in a hollow, dead sort of voice that he doesn't blame Harry in the slightest, which I just love. It's just like, don't worry, Harry. I don't blame you. It definitely wasn't your fault.
It's like 3 days later, I just left the showers.
It's fine. We're cool.
It's all good, man.
You're definitely still on the team.
I cannot believe how much it is occurring to me how flawed Wood is as a character.
I know. Like, I've always just been like, Wood.
I know, yeah. I've always loved Oliver Wood. I'm like, what are we going to do without him?
Yeah.
And then I love his depiction in the movies as well. Like, I feel like it's like, I love Wood.
Yeah. Yes.
He's so great.
He's such a great guy that it's like in the books, he is a Quidditch first mindset no matter what.
Yes. Yeah. He definitely has his, he's like locked and loaded on what matters to him.
Yeah.
Yep. So there we go.
Yep. So, and then, so we're on the next page here where it says Harry hadn't told anyone about the Grim because he knew Ron would panic and Hermione would scoff. But like, okay, I think like Hermione would scoff at this point. Like, I almost don't think so. Like, at this point, Harry would have seen the Grim 4 times, one of which is in a classroom, like, about
divination.
Divination. It's like Hermione doesn't like divination, but like she's still in it at this point. It's like it's still a subject at Hogwarts, and like she's arguing with it, but like also he saw the Grim and now the Grim appeared. And before that, he saw the Grim and he saw it on the book. It's like there's not like Hermione's own logic is being used against her at some point where it's like there has been enough sightings in a row, one of which is in a classroom that says more sightings will occur. You know, it's like at some point she has to like start eating her own words about it.
No, I know. Yeah, it's true. I mean, and I guess to be fair, it's like the only real exposure that he's had to the Grim is because in 2 of the instances it's just Sirius.
Yeah.
And so neither of those times of the Grim. When he sees it at Flourish and Blotts, he does see it on a book that is warning of like death signs and omens, in which case it is a depiction of the Grim. But that is the only actual depiction, because in Trelawney's it could once again be one of those instances where it's like you are in fact seeing like a wolfish dog's head in the tea leaves, but that could be more like an actual sign that like, hey, this is something that will appear to you in the future. It's not the Grim. It's Sirius. Like
right.
it is foretelling Sirius's arrival. Because the thing I highlighted the very next line that said both appearances had been followed by near fatal accidents. The first time he had been nearly run over by the night bus. And like that's always one of those things where I'm like, he accidentally calls the night bus, but it's not the way you're supposed to call the night bus. So the night bus is not like under any like things will jump out of its way magically and stuff like that. It's like I don't feel like the night bus incident was a near death experience.
Right. This is definitely Harry reading more into it.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like him being a little superstitious here.
Right.
Yeah, but I think you're right. I think the tea leaves are. I think it can honestly be both. It can be like one, it is literally just Sirius and not the Grim.
Right.
That is being seen, and of course Trelawney's looking at it. She's like, it's the Grim.
Of course.
And she says, it's an omen of death. But it's like not for nothing. Harry does die.
Well, Harry does die. That's a good point. Yes. It's like true. That's like one of those where it's like Trelawney was just constantly predicting his death, and it's like, well, that does it not only it's like
that does happen.
It does happen, and it has to happen specifically because of a different prediction that Trelawney herself made.
Right, exactly. So it's sort of like, well, it is true.
Right. It's a bit annoying.
It's annoying, and she's wrong about like the timing, and she like doesn't necessarily like understand it, but it's always that line where like she doesn't understand it, but also she's right.
Exactly.
It's all very, very funny line for her character trait for Trelawney. But let's see. So then Harry gets into feeling humiliated about the Dementors, where he's like figured out that it's his mom who is screaming in the middle of the night, which is just terrible.
It really, really, really is. Like that's like, you know, it's so difficult that like basically the only real memory Harry gets of his very brief childhood with his parents is basically the moment of his mom's death.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, it's like, and so it was bad when he was just hearing the screaming, and it's worse when he knows who it is and why it was happening. And the fact that it's not just like, this is not like a nightmarish voice that's echoing through the ether to scare you as part of like the Dementor's powers. This is like actually bringing to the surface a memory that happened in what is the most devastating day of his life.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, it's really, really terrible. And it does start to illustrate exactly what we're going to have a conversation with Lupin here on the very next page, but like why like the Dementors are impacting Harry so badly.
Yes. But so this is like he's also feeling humiliated because like no one else has collapsed every time they're near one, which I almost feel like with that many who came to the Quidditch match, I cannot believe no one else passes out.
I know.
You know, like it's so much.
Yes. I mean, and we know that, I mean, it seems like Luna obviously has like a unique perspective on things, but surely she's there. And she would have witnessed her mother's death because she can see the Thestrals. And then Neville can also see the Thestrals because he witnessed the death of his uncle.
Yeah.
And
you know, he's like knows what happened to his parents.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's like I mean, yeah, there are other people who it seems this should be hurting, especially kind of given like we just made like a big breakdown video about like the weird population problems of the wizarding world. And, you know, part of that is that the class sizes during Harry's year could be unexpectedly small in size because when all of these kids were being born was when Voldemort was at essentially the height of his power. Yeah. So it's like Harry is not the only person whose life was negatively impacted by the attacks of Voldemort. Like Voldemort was reigning terror. There are lots of people whose families must have been like destroyed by this.
Right.
Not that I want other people to be passing out, but it's just like, it seems odd to me that like it's, that, you know, like this doesn't seem like it would be singular.
It does not seem like that, especially like Neville, especially like Luna. It wouldn't surprise me if like Luna does collapse or something, and it's just like no one cares because Luna's sort of like not very popular at this point.
Or like Luna would stand up and be like say something along the lines of like, oh, this is good for me. Like I got the full dosage. Right,
something like that. Yeah. But like I'm almost surprised that Neville is not the one, doesn't also pass out, because then it would like I can even see that like Harry feeling like, you know, or people categorizing them together.
Yes.
Like Neville's kind of always like bumbling and forgetting stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, look at you, Potter, you and Longbottom, you know.
But it would be like a correct categorization for them to be together.
It would.
Neville's the other person the prophecy could have referred to.
And then it makes you feel that much worse when you learn more about like Neville's parents and stuff.
Of course. Yeah. Yep. 100%.
So I think that would work. Although, and then interestingly, I when we were researching for another video, I came across this line later in the book on our copy, page 383, where this is when the Dementors are like sort of like the descending upon Sirius by the lake.
Okay.
And so Harry and Hermione are watching it. This is before they've done the time turner, but it says Harry felt Hermione collapse next to him. He was alone, completely alone. So it's like at some point Hermione collapses from the Dementors as well.
That's really interesting.
Yeah,
that is really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So like. And like at that point, there are like 100 Dementors. So I'm like, there were like 100 Dementors here. So I'm surprised like Hermione doesn't collapse. Here.
True.
You know, lest something truly traumatic happens to Hermione between here and there that she would suddenly be reliving. Or if it's just more intense because she's closer or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's just a year's worth of sleep exhaustion slowly catching up with her.
Right,
you know? It's just like her mind's kind of got that like brain fried feeling a little bit where you've like stayed up for like a day and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's what's going on there.
Yep.
Anyway, though, so yeah, then as we cruise forward, we finally see that Malfoy has taken off his bandages.
Finally, indeed.
Yeah, because it happens on what, the first
day of classes, and it's like what, November or something now?
Right. Yeah, so it's like, okay, so if they take the Hogwarts Express on September 1st, that means first day of classes September 2nd. and we've at least gotten past Halloween because that's when Sirius attacks the portrait of the fat lady. So it's like, yeah, it's like, and I mean, this is like, it's weird to think about it because, again, you're the outsider to the wizarding world, but everyone else at school isn't. Everyone else at school knows how quickly, like, you know,
a cut
can be healed. It's like at this point, it's almost like, Malfoy, you are actively making a fool of yourself. Like, how Malfoy's not being bullied is beyond me.
I know, and it's like, even in the name of like making Hagrid look bad or something, it's like you still have to be wearing the cast.
Right,
you know?
yeah. How much of an inconvenience?
I know, right? Like, you've been wearing a cast for over 2 months here just to keep up the charade and, like, make Hagrid look bad. Like, what a commitment to the bit.
I know.
Which, speaking of which, he's also fully committing to his other bit of doing spirited imitations of Harry falling off of his broom, which just, like, yeah, hilarious, bro. You've been doing the same thing all year. It's like,
all year.
Oh my God, Potter fell from the Dementors. It's funny. Look.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, what type of like a stronghold does Malfoy have over his classmates? Because I'm like, he seems well liked.
Yeah.
At least by the Slytherins.
Yes.
You know, but it's like, it feels like he's just going to be outvoted. I'm like, you can't get away with this for so long.
Yeah. Yes, it just seems like it's got to stop being funny at some point, especially because like Harry, like had Dumbledore not caught him, he just dies, you know?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like yeah. I have a feeling, regardless of the circumstances, the rest of the students are not like, oh yeah, it was hilarious when Harry fell from 50 feet and we had no idea what was going to happen, while all of us were experiencing simultaneous sense of doom.
I know,
it's
right?
Like, yeah, no, like it's a bad day for everyone involved.
Yeah. But I love that it says Ron finally cracked and flung a large, slippery crocodile heart at Malfoy, which hit him in the face.
Yes!
Just like, nice shot, Ron. And then Snape takes off 50 points, which is massive.
I wrote next to it just like 50 with a question mark exclamation point, like 50?
50.
50
I mean,
seems like so many.
It doesn't seem, I guess, that unreasonable, I suppose, that like, if you... I mean, I don't know how big a crocodile heart is, but if you throw an organ at someone's face...
Yeah, I mean, it's not kind to throw organs at people's faces.
No, yeah, it's also not kind to do imitations of them falling off their broomstick or whatever.
Well, also true. True. Yeah, I can at least see where Ron is like just reaching a breaking point. He's just holding what he's holding.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
But like when you consider like this, like McGonagall at one point takes off 50 points from them from being out of bed at night, and it's like that seems like a little harsh.
Yeah,
you know, it feels like this almost feels more in line with like a 50 points thing.
Maybe so. Maybe
right?
so.
Oh, sneaking around the castle. Oh, my pearls. I mean, like, come on, they're like kids. Of course they are.
My pearls.
Exactly.
I know. I am thinking about like dissection day in biology class, and it's like,
my gosh,
how much trouble. I mean, I do feel like you would have like almost been like suspended if you were to like have.
If you were to throw a dead pig at somebody.
If you threw a dead pig at somebody, I think that would do it.
I think that would do it. Yeah, you'd be out.
Okay, you know what? Now all of a sudden, I think the 50 points seems incredibly reasonable.
It is the one time that it seems reasonable by Snape.
Yeah.
But it is unreasonable that he's letting Malfoy get away with the rest of it.
It is unreasonable. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So then we're heading to Lupin's class, where if Snape's still teaching, they're not going because God forbid we learn about something as cool as werewolves.
Seriously.
I know. Well, it's like when they come in, they're like, we don't know anything about werewolves, and it's like, well, yeah, that's why you're going to school, right? Did you know anything about Hinky Punks or Grindylows? Like, did he start up and like, today we're learning about Grindylows, and you're like, well, we don't know anything about Grindylows, and he's like,
yes,
correct.
Today we are learning about them.
Exactly. Just like their fuss. I mean, Snape's being a jerk, but their fuss about the subject is stupid.
I really enjoyed our exchange with Mike Schubert last week.
Yes.
We're not prepared to learn about werewolves.
We couldn't possibly know about them. Like, guys, everyone would be looking forward to Werewolf Day all year.
I know, yeah. It's like, right? okay.
Right, yeah,
like,
we're finally done with these little lake demons. Okay, good.
Now for something fun, something with claws.
Right? So anyway, Lupin tells them they don't have to do the essay, and Hermione says she's already done it, which is a bit of a hint that she has figured out that Lupin is a werewolf, or at least she later says that's when she figured it out. So at this point, Hermione knows.
Yeah. So okay, that's something to keep an eye out for then for future Hermione Lupin exchanges to see if anything else like sort of like floats to the surface.
It's surprising she doesn't tell Ron and Harry.
It is incredibly surprising. As much as they communicate with each other and as much as like stuff is going on, I mean, I think there's like a protecting of someone's privacy type of thing. Like, it's not my position to tell this information to others, which is, certainly respectful for Hermione.
I mean, I suppose so, but like they tell each other everything. And it's like the very next chapter, they will give her reason not to confide in them,
right?
Like with the firebolt situation. But like at this point, I'm surprised she hasn't brought it up.
It does. You're right.
There is a window of opportunity here.
Either which way, though, the class that we do have going on today is Hinky Punks, which apparently they already know all about because they're comfortable learning
about it. Yeah.
This was just one of those things that it does say, like, lures travelers into bogs, said Professor Lupin as they took notes. You notice the lantern dangling from his hand. This is just a real piece of British folklore.
Yes.
So this is we made a video recently that was like things that are not actually like Wizarding World creations, and Hinky Punks are just one of those alongside.
They're
like
just one of those
boggarts and house elves.
Right, and they are like, while there is mythos around them, the actual explanation for the lanterns you see in swamps they're also called like will-o-wisps.
Yes, from like Brave.
But like what happens is that like swamps have these like pockets of like methane that build up and they like explode, and there are little like flares that look like, I mean, there is like bursts of fire.
Yeah, like little. It's the gas is like literally being burned off, but we like to affectionately refer to them as swamp farts.
Swamp farts.
Hashtag swamp farts.
There
it's trending now.
Yep, it's trending now. Make it so, you guys. Let's see. So, this chapter also really starts laying out the end of the book for you. Like, I think by the end of the chapter, you could possibly like cross divide and solve for scabbers.
Oh, yeah. I
think you've got enough information if you are very, very savvy.
You'd have to be incredibly eagle-eyed.
You would.
I mean, it's the kind of thing where it's like, like a key and a lock makes sense once you've put them together, but like guessing the configuration seems so difficult. But you're right. I think the information is laid out for us. But
yes, but so the first bit of information, combined with some stuff we've already learned in the book, though, is that Lupin is talking to Harry, and he is talking to him about the broomstick and how the Whomping Willow destroyed it. And Lupin sighs, which to me could almost be like he's almost blaming himself for Harry losing his broomstick.
I literally wrote he could feel kind of like distantly responsible because what we know about the Whomping Willow is, and it's the very next thing he says, they planted the Whomping Willow the same year that I arrived at Hogwarts.
Right. Big hint. It's like take note of that, reader. Like, that is important. They planted it the year Lupin got there. Right? That is important.
Yes.
Why? Why would that be important?
Well, I mean, can we explain why?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, which is basically because they knew, like Dumbledore had basically made the decision to allow Lupin to attend the school under special circumstances where he would be able to go and experience his transformations inside of the Shrieking Shack. And the Whomping Willow basically was going to be covering what was otherwise a secret entrance to that particular location.
Right. Yes.
So the Whomping Willow is like planted on behalf of
Lupin.
Remus Lupin.
Yes.
So, Lupin's sigh there, it feels very classic Lupin as well, to like just blame himself for everything. When it's like, Lupin, it is not your fault.
It is not your fault, dude.
Yeah.
Like, they kept the tree there for another, however many years.
It's still a school, and they still have a tree that can punch you in the face.
Yes. So that's the first big hint in this chapter. I also love that in this one, I doubt this was the case, but he says, in the end, a boy called Davey Gudgeon nearly lost an eye and we were forbidden to go near it, which, like, the way he phrases it makes it sound like before that point, like, it was fine, go near it.
Yeah, just go play with
it.
Did you catch the Gudgeon reference?
No.
Oh, okay. So
Gladys Gudgeon.
Gladys Gudgeon
from the Night Bus.
Not that's Madame Marsh.
No,
Gladys Gudgeon
Madame Marsh
is Lockhart's biggest fan. And
wow.
So I was like, Davey Gudgeon, like, could that be related to Gladys Gudgeon?
Indeed.
And if so, what would be the most, like, possibly husband?
I guess Gladys Gudgeon could be married to Davey Gudgeon.
Yeah.
And it's possible he has a terrible scar on his face from the Whomping Willow, which would explain why she likes Lockhart's totally perfect face.
No, can you think of something even worse, though? Would be if Davey Gudgeon grows up to be somebody whose story gets stolen from Lockhart, and then his own wife becomes a huge fan of Lockhart's.
Oh.
It hurts to think about, doesn't it?
That would be terrible. What could that one have been?
The only thing that we know is that, he must have been daring enough to go near the Whomping Willow.
Yeah.
Which I mean would suggest a certain amount of bravery. Yeah.
It'd be so funny if Davey, I guess he could just be like a more like, is he in Gryffindor? I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if he was just like another Gryffindor boy in their year, but like not part of the gang?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So the dormitory is like it's Remus and James and Sirius and Peter.
And Davey.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we really chose the wrong fourth member here.
I know, yeah. That Davey Gudgeon, I mean, he went places and then had his memory stolen from him.
Oh, that would be so sad.
Oh,
all right.
It hurts, though.
Davey Gudgeon backstory. Let's go.
Yes,
That's the fan fiction everyone's looking for.
I know, yes.
So there we go. We learn that the Whomping Willow was planted the same year Lupin got there. All right, so we're moving down. Why he's asking about the Dementors, and he says, and Lupin quickly reads the situation and says, it has nothing to do with weakness. The Dementors affect you worse than the others because there are horrors in your past that the others don't have, which you already sort of talked about some, but it's sort of like it's like you're not weak, you've just had more terror in your past.
Absolutely. And I think that this is Lupin doing a honestly like really fantastic job with being able to just connect with, I mean, not just Harry, but any student.
Yes.
To be able to like extremely like empathize with what's going on and provide an explanation that is like sound and grounded and like it should make Harry feel better. Like this is a good explanation.
Yeah. Lupin is such a good teacher.
He is a good teacher.
He's great at connecting with the students.
He is.
But then we get a little bit more just information about like how Dementors like work at all, and it's like, again, it's like they keep describing them as like the foulest creatures that it says walk this earth, but I always imagine them like floating.
I sort of imagine them floating as well.
Yeah like they don't have legs.
I know. Right? Yeah my goal is to take the concept of Dementors and inject them into merch somehow to make them seem like more whimsical. Yeah. Like take the good Dementor terrifying name and be like, haha, I've undermined you and made you. I've made you pink.
Made you pink. Yeah.
I'm coming after you, Dementors.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, Dementors are like meant to represent. They're supposed to be like the personification of depression.
No, yes, they are. Yes, they are. Yeah, that is the actual intention for them. This is like once again kind of like one of those interesting things where it does say like Muggles feel their presence, that they can't see them, which is it does go on to be like a rather significant plot point during Harry's trial because Harry claims that he cast a Patronus to protect him and Dudley in. Did I say Order of the Phoenix already? No. In Order of the Phoenix. And that's sort of like of course, Muggles can't see them, so there are no eyewitnesses to tell us whether or not you're telling the truth. But I do sort of love that like background idea where it's almost like depression is sort of this thing that like it's almost like the Dementors are just like, they're just like, it's like, get away from me, Dementors.
Right. Yeah. And it's like if they represent depression, I love the idea that like chocolate solves it.
I know. Yeah.
So fun.
We should just all eat more chocolate.
We just eat more chocolate, give yourself a break.
Yeah.
So then Harry like really, really opens up. He tells him, like, when they get near me, I can hear Voldemort murdering my mom. Like, he hasn't even told Ron and Hermione this, and he's telling Lupin.
I know.
And it's like, it is a very personal fact.
It is a very personal fact, and Lupin's reaction is really kind of interesting as well, because, like, Lupin, like, the thing Harry probably doesn't know properly is just how close Lupin was to these people.
Yeah.
And so it says, Lupin made a sudden motion with his arm as though to grip Harry's shoulder, but thought better of it. And it's like, in this moment, it's like, even like Lupin, I mean, this has got to be an incredibly painful thing to have communicated at you, both again from this empathetic perspective of just being like, Harry, I am so sorry, and then also being like, my two best friends,
right?
This is impactful. I mean, Lupin's right in there with him.
Oh yeah, I mean he is right in there with him, and he's not even like, he's about as close to the situation as you can be without having been totally involved, because like even like part of the reason Pettigrew is able to like get away with being the spy is because like they say it later in this chapter that like it was clear that there was a spy in Dumbledore's camp somewhere,
right.
And it's like the reason neither Sirius or Remus realizes it's Peter is because they both suspect each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So. Exactly. But I do think that like even this like sort of I mean, Lupin doesn't seem seriously in favor of the Dementors anyway, but Harry says, like, why do they have to come to the match? Harry said bitterly. They're getting hungry, said Lupin coolly. And it's like, I think in this moment, it's almost like Lupin is like properly irritated.
Yeah.
He's he is like, they shouldn't be here. And of all people, they shouldn't be bothering Harry.
Yep. But he goes on and says, like, their supply of human prey has dried up. It was their idea of a feast, which kind of like makes sense because like Dementors are amortal beings, so they can't be like killed, but they're also not really alive. They just sort of like, the more depression and like panic and fear there is around, the more they can just sort of like manifest into existence, and then they can kind of spread that around. But as it is, they're being sort of like stationed solo around the school and not being allowed to be near other people. So like they don't have that depression to feed on. So you can almost imagine them like literally like just disappearing.
Yeah, you know? Like you would almost think that like what's actually happening is like Dumbledore's like, no, you can stay on the perimeter where you can like, I mean, not starve and die, but like starve and cease. You know,
yeah,
like it's almost as if this is like Dumbledore's own little like battle he's waging against the Dementors. It's like, if I don't let you near anybody, then you have nothing to consume, and if you have nothing to consume, you can't be.
Exactly.
So
yeah. So otherwise, we get a little more information about Azkaban, that the fortress is set on a tiny island way out to sea, but they don't need like walls or water to keep the prisoners in because they're all trapped inside of their own heads and capable of a single cheerful thought. And then after that, we get a little bit of a red herring about Lupin because he's supposed to be the one you are assuming is letting Sirius into the castle. But it says, Harry says, but Sirius Black escaped from them. He got away. And then Lupin's briefcase slipped from the desk. And it's like, that's supposed to be like, as if you're, like in my mind's eye, he's sort of like trips. Like, what? You're getting too close.
Yes. Like to me, this would almost suggest like the more savvy reader, the more experienced reader, this would immediately stand out like a waving red flag. Like, it's like, okay, Sirius Black got brought up against this new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher who's apparently so kind and caring and everything.
After all the other ones have been so trustworthy.
I know, yeah. It's like this feels almost certainly like it would be tipping you like, there you go, that's the dead giveaway. Like Lupin's involved.
Like Lupin's involved, absolutely. And it's sort of like you could even like interpret it like, oh, it's like, why do you know so much? It's like, oh, he seems like he's so knowledgeable. He knows so much about Dementors. And it's like, yeah, no, but the Dementors are the bad guys and he knows so much about them because he's aligned with them, you know?
Right. Yeah. So if you're watching this come out episodically and you don't know what happens next and you're breaking down all of this stuff, the argument that you're making is like, okay, yeah, we're learning a lot about Dementors. Who are we learning them from?
Exactly.
You know, it's like, it's very much like, yeah, the person who knows for a reason.
Exactly. Although speaking of which, one of his next sentences, they're discussing learning about Patronuses here, but Lupin says, I don't pretend to be an expert at fighting Dementors, Harry. Quite the contrary. And I just highlighted that and just wrote like, nobody beliees that for 1 second.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, I'm afraid not, Lupin.
You might even be the foremost expert on this particular subject.
Right, I'm sorry. No. Yeah. Don't be so humble, okay?
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah. Foremost expert until your Padawan, who will go on to become the master.
Yeah.
Which is Harry.
I know. Like, he says that, and then like even in Order of the Phoenix, like clearly he says this directly to Harry, and then in Order of the Phoenix, he's like, who better to ask about Patronuses than the man who knew all about them? It's like, it's like, this doesn't land at all.
No. Yeah, there's no sticking point for this.
No.
This is just Lupin's low sense of self-esteem.
Oh my God, I know, but it is so present. It's so sad. It's like he's come on, just give yourself a little credit, Lupin.
He's been through a lot though. I mean, he's probably lived virtually in solitude for how many years?
I guess
13 years.
Yeah,
right?
13 years.
So he's living in like his own kind of like weird prison as well.
A little bit, and yet still keeping up with all of his, schooling. The fact that he's such a good teacher is almost unbelievable.
It is almost unbelievable. Like you would think that he would be like a little bit like socially awkward, or like more fumbling to connect, but he's got like a warmth.
Yeah,
you know.
Absolutely. Let's see. So Harry's reasoning for wanting to fight the Dementors, though, is right out of Oliver Wood's book. If the Dementors come to another Quidditch match, I need to be able to fight them. And it's like, yeah, or for other reasons. Or for other reasons.
Yeah, it's like we can use Quidditch as the baseline, but like you're exactly right. It's like, or because they're dark arts and your defense against.
Yeah. Right. How about that?
How about that?
How about that for a reason?
Right. Yeah. I do like Harry's determined face though. Like I feel like this is like Lupin almost like looking at like into the eyes of this child and being like, this is way over your head. This is extremely complex magic. Like I probably shouldn't be teaching you this, but it's like I think he can tell like that Harry's conviction is absolute.
Yeah.
It's like he's like, I want to do this.
I know. I'm like trying to imagine what is like the Muggle equivalent of like the 13-year-old coming up and being like, well, can you teach me? You know, and you're
I
like,
know, yeah.
I don't like.
It's hard to think of our version of like what like an incredibly noble determination might be,
right?
Out in the real world, like what is the thing where it's like, I don't know, like CPR.
You can teach a 13-year-old that.
No, I know. I'm just trying to think of like something you would like your kids could come to you and be like, Mom and Dad, I really want to learn how to.
Right.
Be more responsible.
I know.
Open a checking account.
Yeah.
Have a credit card.
Right. It's like, or like, is he asking you to like, could you do could you like heart surgery or something? It's like, yeah, like I could just save so many lives. It's just like, yeah.
But yeah, you can see the determination on their face.
I don't know. Like, I guess we could cut open a few chests. We'll just see what happens.
We'll just see what happens. It'll be fine.
It's fine.
It'll be fine.
It's fine. You know what? Like, it's. Like, you do need to know a lot of things, but as long as you don't cut the wrong things, you know what I mean? Like, they're fine.
Organs, veins.
Organs.
Other vital pieces of human anatomy. Oh, man.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Yep, there we go.
Let's see. So, okay. In the next, there's like a little break in the paragraph here with the promise of anti-dementia lessons, whatever, and then it says Ravenclaw flattened Hufflepuff in their Quidditch match at the end of November. So one, I think, correct me if I'm wrong. Does this mean that Cho beat Cedric?
Like not just beat Cedric, but like flattened him.
Flattens him.
Yeah.
Too distracted, wasn't he?
I know. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that was sort of what went through my head because I was like, it's really hard to believe that Cedric would be beaten so badly.
Yeah.
Like it's like that seems like unless what we have going on here, even with Cedric catching the snitch, because it sounded like in the match against Hufflepuff, the Gryffindors were up.
Yeah,
like, they were doing well. So maybe it's an instance where like Cedric really is the key talent and happened to spot the snitch quickly enough. Like it's almost like Ireland versus Bulgaria, except Cedric got to the snitch faster than Crumb did.
Well, I don't think anyone's in any doubt that Harry, if the Dementors don't show up, that Harry beats him to the snitch.
No, I would agree with that. Yeah, 100%. But it's I just found it to be kind of interesting because it's like I feel like with the introduction of Cedric as such a prominent character, and then even in Goblet of Fire when you meet Amos Diggory, Cedric's father, it's like he keeps bringing up the fact that like Cedric beat Harry in a match, but it's also like, yeah, but he got flattened by Ravenclaw. Like,
right, yeah.
Are you just forgetting about the fact that he like lost supremely?
Right, like when Cedric, brings Cho home, is he just like,
Yeah, what does Amos say to the arrival of Cho?
I know, right? Like, I don't know about this Cedric. I don't know about this one.
Right, yeah, she whooped your butt.
She whooped your butt over there.
Right.
I'm pretty sure this is the case, unless it's like, I don't know if it's like later in the book, if they're like, oh no, Ravenclaw put on a new Seeker or something.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think it is Cho.
I think it's just Cho. Yeah.
Okay,
let's see here. So we get another line though that also this basically is saying that Gryffindor is not out of the running.
Right.
This
is Ravenclaw beats Hufflepuff.
Right. The scoring math kind of starts coming into play where it's like the amount in which you win each match by is like contributing towards the overall totals.
Yeah.
We also learned that like Dumbledore's anger at the Dementors is so incredibly massive that it seems like to be keeping the Dementors sort of like where they're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of like what I'm wondering is almost if there's just a Phoenix Patronus that is like now circling the castle.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
I mean, like, because that is Dumbledore's Patronus. And we know that Umbridge uses her 3 cats in the Ministry later to keep the Dementors sort of like in a bubble away.
That would be interesting. Although, even in the last chapter, he didn't like produce the Phoenix Patronus.
Right. I mean, I guess he's sort of like acting under extreme pressure, and Harry's about to fall off his bird.
Well, it's also the wise man's. The wise man fears the anger of a gentleman. So,
that's exactly right. Yeah. That's a good little Name of the Wind reference for you.
Exactly. Not that Dementors, I think, are particularly wise or anything, but
right.
But this is Dumbledore being angry.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. He's like, you guys know what you almost did? That's the chosen one.
All those years of work lost.
Yeah, I know. Could you imagine? Yeah, he's just like, I almost lost it. I almost, like, wow.
To a bunch of Dementors.
A bunch of Dementors. I said I didn't want him here. I said I didn't want him here. They literally almost, there's one student they got to stay away from. Come on.
And they affect that one student. Then as we scroll down the page, we learn that Ron and Hermione have nobly again decided to remain at Hogwarts.
Such good friends.
For the holidays. They both have their reasons. Ron says he doesn't want to hang out with Percy, who I think Percy by this book is just every mention of him is always in a negative light.
Right. It's
it
just
seems
like,
they're like, goodness.
Like, all right, just let it go, dude.
We could not be less interested in one Percy Weasley as the family of the Weasley brothers / siblings.
I know.
And then Hermione insisted she needed to use the library, but Harry wasn't fooled, but he knows that they were just doing it to keep him company. But I do like the fact that it says, and he was very grateful, because this would even feel like a classic Harry instance where he would feel guilty that they stayed behind.
Right.
But I like that he's just like appreciative in this moment. Like he's like, no, I need my friends.
Yeah.
Like, because I do think friendship is again another like a core value of the saga.
Yeah. Okay, so like the next line, I think this is like possibly a funny take or possibly a bad read by Hermione, but she's talking about going to Hogsmeade again, and Hermione says, "Oh, Mom and Dad would really love those tooth flossing string mints from Honeydukes," and it's like, but later in the next book, she's like, "Oh, I've asked them to shorten my teeth using magic, but like they're dentists, so they don't like mixing magic and teeth or whatever."
Right.
So it's like part of me thinks like this is the event that informs that information.
Yeah, they were like,
they're just like, what? No teeth magic, Hermione. Come now.
Right. Yeah.
And what I'm imagining is the tooth flossing string mints do not go down well as a Christmas gift.
Yes, like they sent her a letter and they're like, okay, so for Christmas you got us dental floss. That was no less magic dental floss. It's
I
like,
don't think so.
You do understand we are dentists.
Right. Are you suggesting that our profession doesn't even need to exist because of your school, young lady?
Young lady, not his. Yes, you also did not come home to hang out with the boy who you don't marry.
Yeah, come on,
because they know already. And you said
they already know.
They sent us dental floss for Christmas, so I can see where Mom and Dad are a little bit like Hermione,
come on. I know. I'm trying to imagine opening dental floss from my kids and just being like, thanks, guys.
Thanks. I know.
Also, what is that sort of saying? It's just sort of like, I get the message. Okay. I'm not flossing enough. I get it.
I'm going to commit.
Yeah.
It does remind me of the year that we got our dad a football-shaped crock pot for Christmas. And we thought that it was like the bee's knees.
We sure did. We were like, this is an amazing gift.
Yeah.
But you know what? They use it every Super Bowl. They still use it.
For Dad's wings.
We were not great at gifts as teenagers.
No.
Turns out.
Yeah.
But I'll just have to remember that for when my own kids are teenagers.
I know.
Be like, it's okay, guys. I'll just cherish this no matter what.
I'm going to go talk about it on my podcast.
I'm going to go talk about it. Guess what the boys got me?
Dental floss. I use it every night.
Yep.
Gums have never been healthier. Anyway, we've digressed. As we move forward, we learn that Harry is now riding on one of the school brooms at team practice, an ancient shooting star, which I bring up and highlighted just strictly because it feels like a piece of trivia. Like what broomstick was Harry riding whilst not riding his Nimbus 2000 prior to the arrival of the firebolt?
Do you think Harry is on the hook for buying a new broomstick here? Because to me, it seems sort of like he should not be when he didn't have to buy the first one.
True.
And it is 1,000,000% not his fault that the Dementors crashed his Quidditch broom. It is the school's fault.
It does feel a little bit like even if they had not bought him the first one, they should be responsible for replacing this one.
Yeah.
But I wonder if like McGonagall went to like Dumbledore's office immediately after this. She's like, we have to get Potter a new broomstick, and Dumbledore's like, we can't do it again.
It's like, could you repair the other one? It's like, well, I mean, I could.
it's Dumbledore like slides the Elder Wand like under some papers on his desk, and he's like, "No,
that broom is beyond repair, Minerva."
Yeah, just go bring him the remains up in the hospital wing. It'll comfort him.
It's like I almost like this is okay. What it reminded me of was Once Upon a Time. There, those like fairs that like that come to town and they kind of like set up and they're there for a week and then they leave and they've got like all the crazy, the chainsaw, the tilt-a-whirl or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the Vomitron or whatever.
The Vomitron. Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, me and one of my friends, Nate, were once upon riding one of these rides.
Okay.
And when we went upside down, my phone at the time fell out of my pocket and just, hit the asphalt 50 feet below, shattered, terrible day. I got down, I was like so upset. I was
that would do it. Yeah, that would do it. Yeah.
I was mad. However, it's like you're upset for a minute and then you realize, hey, wait a minute. New phone. Now I have a new phone day all of a sudden. So it went from sort of being like, well, you know what? It sucks that this happened, but also now I got a new phone. So I kind of feel like, especially because Harry could now get like a Nimbus 2001 or something. I know. Possibly even, it seems like maybe they have the 2002s out by now.
I mean, you would think so.
Right?
I mean, after all, it is the year 1993.
Exactly. Where are the Nimbus 2002s? Come on, you could outdo Malfoy. So that seems like you'd almost be a little excited to do a little broom shopping.
That's the thing, is that Harry, it's not like he doesn't have. I mean, I guess it speaks to maybe his own humble nature or whatever. But it is interesting to me that despite having all that gold in his vault, he's not like, yeah, I just mail ordered a new broom. I mean, it does seem like that is what he would do.
Yeah. It does seem like that.
Yeah.
It seemed like, I guess you could argue he wouldn't get the Nimbus 2001 because Malfoy rides it and he doesn't want to ride the same thing as Malfoy.
I could see that.
And maybe you wouldn't want to replace the Nimbus 2000 because it'd be like, oh, it's not like it's like I lost my pet. I can't just replace it.
I know. Yeah.
Can't just go out and buy another dog.
Right. I was going to say goldfish. And then I was like, people used to do that all the time.
Goldfish are replaceable. Come on now.
Highly replaceable.
Yeah.
Kids do not notice.
Kids don't notice, right? So anyway, he's moping about that. But of course, it's not. The real reason he's not getting one is because the next chapter he's going to, be gifted one.
Exactly. For plot
reasons. But then the moment has arrived. Fred and George pull him aside to give him a bit of festive cheer before they go. And they have got the Marauder's map.
Yes, the large square, very worn piece of parchment with nothing written on it. It's like what I've always wanted.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just a nice old piece of paper.
There's something really nice about it.
There is something there. When I was a kid, I regularly wanted to take the leftover coffee and ball up a piece of paper 9,000 times, so it felt very
treasure mappy.
Treasure mappy. Yeah. And then get it all stained and burn the corners with some matches and whatnot. Mom and Dad did not like the way that I played as a small child.
Well, you know what? Look where you are now.
I know. Exactly. It all worked out in the end. So I would be excited before I even realized that this was a highly useful map.
Yeah. It's just what? An old piece of paper?
Oh, boy.
Thanks, guys.
I'm going to color pictures on it.
Yeah. Harry, on the other hand, is not so enamored with his ancient piece of parchment. He's just like, this is a gas, right? We're not this, what?
I mean, this is one of those where Fred and George is you guys need to speak quicklier. It's it's y'all. It would be more unusual to not be suspicious,
right? Exactly,
of an innocuous-looking piece of paper.
I know,
but I do sort of like the entire Fred and George exchange here because they explain this is the secret to our success. It's Orange giving it to you, but we decided that your needs might be greater than ours.
Not Ron.
Not Ron, not our brother, who will be seriously annoyed that we gave it to you, the most famous kid in school.
Yeah.
Poor Ron. I mean, it's you can understand why he's come goblet of fire when Harry's name comes out of the goblet. It's just come on, dude. Really? First the Marauder's map and now this.
I know, right?
Anyway, not the point. They do say that they know it by heart, which is, it certainly speaks to the secret passages, less so to the other pieces.
Yeah, knowing where everyone is at every moment.
Yeah.
That feels like the useful part. I feel like many of the students could just memorize the castle.
Right. Yep. I like the fact that Harry refers to it as an old bit of parchment, to which Fred responds, closing his eyes as though Harry had mortally offended him. Explain, George. I am too mortified to do such things in this particular moment. I like their description of them as their first year, where it says young, carefree, innocent.
Yep.
To which Harry snorts.
Right.
And
more innocent than we are now.
Yes, but they had let off a dung bomb in their first year, which upset Filch for some reason, so he hauled them off to their room, where he threatened detention, disembowelment, any of the normal things.
The usual. Disembowelment. Goodness me.
I know, yeah, right.
What does Filch, it's he's always so mad that Dumbledore won't let him do what he wants, and it's because it's disembowelment.
Right, yeah, it's disembowelment also equals death.
Yeah.
You don't survive that.
Right.
They see the drawer that's designated confiscated and highly dangerous. They set off another dung bomb and then whip it out of the drawer.
Oh man, so good, so good. So this line in particular always like seems to stir up some questions, I think, because it's sort of like confiscated and highly dangerous, because it brings it like, given the nature of what the map does, it's sort of like, how could you ever get it stolen from you? You know, how could Filch have ever gotten this off of the Marauders? You know, like it feels impossible, like that he would have successfully done this,
unless. Do you know where I'm going with this?
I do know where you're going with this, Ben.
That the entire intention was to be caught so that future troublemakers.
Oh, I don't even think they got caught.
Oh, okay.
I think they just went into Filch's office and put the map here
and left it.
And left it for the next people to find, because they're like, oh, well, we're not going to be here. But the people, we don't know who deserves it, but they certainly will be the ones who are stealing from the drawer.
Yes. Okay, yes. So I would call it 6 or half a dozen in some capacity. One way or another, Filch never got the best of the Marauders.
No.
Is the point.
No chance.
And so all that really happened here was either Filch was like, I don't know what it is, but if it came from them, it needs to go in this drawer. Or the Marauders themselves were like, I have an idea. And the right people will find it. And sure enough, the right people did find it, because none other than Fred and George are compared to the antics of the Marauders in this very chapter.
Yes, indeed. So, which is important, too, to figuring out, to solving for Scabbers, that Fred and George would be compared to James and Sirius.
Yes, indeed.
So, yes, they show him how it works by saying that I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Which gave me chills.
I know.
Like, yes!
I love it. And then here we go. The Messrs. Mooney, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs, purveyors of aids to magical mischief makers, are proud to present the Marauders map. Which, fantastic. I love the font on here too. I'm like, is this the canon font for the map?
I have no idea, but it is truly glorious. It looks gorgeous. But yeah, even purveyors of let's see here, aids to magical mischief makers. It's like this is literally introducing itself to people of cut from the same cloth.
Exactly. They like, it's like the way they've worded this is like, we used it, but we always intended it for it to be an aid to future generations.
Precisely.
Yes.
Yep. And at which point in time you can see that like all the little tiny ink dots move around the map with minuscule writing. Harry immediately spots Dumbledore in his office pacing, which is also, I think it's cool that in the films this is also the first thing. Yeah. It's a really good exchange, because I feel like Fred and George like are finishing each other's sentences like in his office pacing. He does that a lot.
Yeah.
It's a good one. We can see Mrs. Norris on the map, as well as Peeves the poltergeist, who is currently bouncing around the trophy room.
This is interesting because the fact that Mrs. Norris shows up on the map is either the only example of animals showing up on the map or proof that she's not truly an animal.
Yes, yeah, which would be my thing. The fact that it's put in the same line of like the same list there as the caretaker's cat, Mrs. Norris, and then Peeves, the poltergeist, to me just sort of goes back to the sentiment that like Mrs. Norris and Filch as an entity are one and the same, and again is like they are a manifestation of rule following, which is what makes them a poltergeist.
Right. Exactly. And then they start showing off the passages that enter off the map into Hogsmeade.
Yes.
It says there are 7 in all. Now, Filch knows about 4, pointed them out, but we're sure we're the only ones who know about these. And then he shows them one that says there's a behind the mirror on the 4th floor, but it is caved in, completely blocked. And I'm like, part of me is wondering, like, do we know what caved it in?
I know, yeah. This would be, I had the exact same question. I was like, this feels like a good one to like lob out there to, the dorks, as the listeners of the show may now be known by, DOORKS.
Yeah, the dorks, like through the Griffin door dorks.
The dorks. Yeah, we're all dorks together.
We're all dorks together.
But you're right. Like this is a good question. It's like, is there anything that happens last winter that would have caused this to happen?
So I know. Like, I'm like, could the basilisk have done this in some way? Like, I guess cause the cave in.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, it's a big snake.
It wouldn't surprise me if like Tom Riddle knew about the passages.
Sure.
Either because he finds the Chamber of Secrets, so he was clearly searching the castle anyway. So
yes, yeah. I think that would make sense.
This one seems discoverable.
Then they indicate the. I don't think anyone's ever used this one because the Whomping Willow is planted right over the entrance.
Mm-hmm. That is your clue from earlier, where it's like, okay, the Whomping Willow is planted over a secret passage to Hogsmeade, and the Whomping Willow was planted the same year Lupin was there.
Yes.
So this is some connective tissue you can use.
Yep. So if you're theory writing in that mythical world where this is coming out episodically and you're waiting until next week, almost certainly these are dots you are connecting.
Absolutely.
They would be two huge details that would be standing out like sore thumbs because it's like, wait a second.
Wait, the Whomping Willow, it's the second time we mentioned the Whomping Willow, and it's like origin.
Yes.
Or whatever here. So you might not know about the Shrieking Shack or anything.
Right,
like that's going to be connected in that way.
You could wonder a little bit whether or not this particular passage, because, I mean, if they planted the tree over it, it would otherwise just mean that it was formerly just a tunnel.
Right.
So it's like, was there something else blocking it, like a cool shrubbery or something?
Right, yeah.
Or was this just a different way you could get to Hogsmeade? And it's like, you guys want to take the tunnel or take the path?
Right. And it's like, but no, the tunnel is there because of the same reason the tree is there.
Right.
But let's see. And then we've also, now we have the names Mooney, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs. We owe them so much. Noble men working tirelessly to help a new generation of lawbreakers, said Fred solemnly. All right, so we've got the names. The names are important as well. Mooney, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs. Not in the movies, which also, just for what it's worth, we get so many questions about, like, what? Newt Scamander was on the map in the movies. And it's like, that's just a movie thing. That's just an Easter egg. It's not really there. He wasn't really there. Not there.
I know. Yeah, it's too bad. Egg. Although, I mean, it is like one of those big questions where it's like, where was Newt?
Yes.
Like, why was he not involved?
Yeah.
Seems like he would have been.
It does seem like that. So then they show him how to wipe the map by saying mischief managed, and it all goes blank. There you go. So they also show him like the one that goes through Honeydukes. Ba-boom. Let's see. Okay, so they tell him you can go there. So the thing about this is that like Harry does go to Hogsmeade like basically immediately, but he does not, surprisingly, does not bring the invisibility cloak with him. You know?
That's actually something they do in the movies that I think works a lot better.
Yeah.
Based on what happens later on in this chapter, like where you're gonna overhear a conversation. It's like that conversation being overheard when Harry is like uniquely in a space and is invisible and completely undetected makes more sense than how it actually ends up going down. So I also find it to be kind of strange that Harry's just sort of like, hey, I just learned about this new particular passage. Let's see what happens. Let's go.
Also, it's like everyone knows Harry's not supposed to be there. So like, if they see you there, it's so easy.
Anybody could tell on him.
Anyone could tell on him. Yeah.
No, it's so true. But then the other thing before he even leaves, because there's a couple different details here. This is the one-eyed witch statue that you use to exit the castle. You use the spell Descendium, which is like another one of those like trivia details that I feel like, what is the spell? And I'm like, I can never remember what it is.
Like, Descendio. No, Descendium.
Descendium, yep. Yeah. But the other thing is that the little dot, this is another one of those details that I feel like kind of like fleets out of my brain, but it just says his little ink self appeared to be tapping the witch with his minute wand. And that's like one of those details where I'm like, the movie depicts like the little footsteps to sort of like indicate who is where and when. And then otherwise you're always told that there's like a little dot, but this almost suggests that there's like a little like depiction of the character itself.
Oh, I always just imagine like a little dot with like a little stick coming out of it.
And that could be it as well. That could be it as well, which is just kind of adorable.
Yeah.
It feels like a fun, very simple animation.
Right? Like, what's surprising to me is that like Fred and George don't know about the passage. They know the passage under the Whomping Willow exists, but like they don't know how to get to it because of the Whomping Willow.
Right.
But like if you go near this one, it shows you how to do it. And like the Marauders knew the trick with the willow.
But even the trick with the willow was very, I mean, not that there's no other way to get around it, but usually they were using Peter to crawl under it to like press the one knot.
Right.
So, but you're right. I mean, you probably could have just levitated the stick and poked the same spot.
Yeah.
And it seems like the map probably would have explained it. That's a good point.
Yeah, like press the, unless the Marauders don't want people to know how to get there specifically because of Lupin.
Yeah, and I mean, and that would stand to reason as well, because a lot of what they're doing inside of their time at school is taking efforts to make Lupin's life better.
Yeah.
And so that could be one where it's like, it's okay to mark it on the map as being there, but it's sort of like, we want to keep that one for ourselves.
Right. Yeah.
I could see that.
I can see that.
The thing that always blows my mind, though, and I mean, it's hard to tell if it's like hyperbole or if it's like actually taking this long, but like Harry slides his way into this particular tunnel, and it said he was traveling through the tunnel for what felt like ages. It says after what felt like an hour, the passage began to rise. Panting, Harry sped up, his face hot and his feet cold. 10 minutes later, he came to the foot of some worn stone steps, which rose out of sight above him. Careful not to make any noise, Harry began to climb 100 steps, 200 steps. He lost count as he climbed, watching his feet. It's like he's walked for 70 minutes and then up 200 minimum flights of stairs.
Yeah.
Probably more like 300, because if you're going to get to 200 and then lose count.
70-minute walk. Are you kidding?
A 70-minute walk is a long time. I mean, I think you can travel at like a hasty
like
walk.
4 miles.
Yeah, easily. Yeah. It's like 15 minutes per mile at a hasty walk. Yeah. So it's like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like how far away are the rest of the students walking to
I know.
speed?
You can have 4 miles.
It doesn't seem like
no
it.
way.
This should be a shortcut.
Right? Yeah, this should be a shortcut. It should not take this long. Maybe it just feels that long. I can imagine it feeling that long if you're just like walking in an underground tunnel with no light.
Which we have done.
And yes, it can feel
like
unnerving.
Time is very wimbly wombly when you don't have any natural light to work with. So.
Yes, it is. But that does seem like an insanely long way to go. Also, and so I was curious about this, and I don't know how canon it would be, but one, it's crazy to me that the people at Honeydukes don't know about the passage.
True.
It's like he gets out and it says, it was impossible to tell it was there. And I'm like, that impossible?
Right.
That impossible that the people who work there don't know there's a hole in the floor?
Right.
Yeah. But I also checked. I was like wondering, like, what is the purpose of this? Like, who put it there?
Okay.
You know?
Is there an explanation?
Well, not that I'm aware of, but like in the game Hogwarts Legacy, this passage exists in the game.
Okay.
Which makes it at least 100 years old.
Okay.
So it's like it feels like the founders could have put it there, so like they had a way out of the school or something.
Could be.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you were I suppose at the time of in the Hogwarts Legacy, does it take you to Honeydukes?
It does. Yes,
okay,
you can still enter. Honeydukes is still there as well.
Because I mean that would stand to reason that like potentially prior to, because I think at some point in time Slughorn says like, I remember when it was just the one broomstick, like in reference to the Three Broomsticks. Yeah. So I guess it stands to reason that, like, you know, like any other retail area.
Did you say that in the book, or is that a movie thing?
That could be a movie thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because our theory is that it used to be the 4 broomsticks, and then the it's 3 because Slytherin left.
Yes,
yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yes. Okay, I like that better.
Yeah,
that's a better explanation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the idea that the founders themselves, because I always kind of go back to this idea that the Hogwarts was not originally necessarily like a school for young students so much as like a place you build a wizarding community around, where like education helped to build the community to be more efficient and effective and hone skills and learn new abilities and advance their technology and stuff like that. And so, yeah, the idea that the creators of the castle itself might want these secret passages to the nearby town where everybody lives would offer some convenience. You know, for them in particular, even if it's not a well-trodden path.
Yeah, or if it's like just like an escape route or something.
Or that,
if you're like under attack or something.
Right.
I don't know. Surprisingly, while he's down there, the owner comes down requesting another box of jelly slugs because they've nearly cleaned us out. It's just like, well, that's the popular candy item, jelly slugs.
Jelly slugs? I know. I mean, yeah. Sure. Is that like a gummy bear?
I imagine it's got to be like Sour Patch Kids or something. Gummy something.
Gummy something.
Know?
Yeah. I hope it's like that, not like gelatinous slugs.
I know. Yeah, that seems gross. I know. Harry, again, I can't believe he doesn't bring the cloak, but he doesn't. But then we get one of my favorite paragraphs in just the whole series, and it is the description of all of the candy in the shop.
Yes.
And just like, I think it is paragraphs like this one that make people love Harry Potter so much, because it's like, you're like, yeah, I want it. Yes, I want that. I want it. That thing too. Wow. Yes. Cool. The wizarding world's awesome. Like, there's always so many bad things happen and people escaping from prison, but then there's just candy stores full of cool things.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally wrote, like, it's so interesting that you identified like these pages in particular. Yeah, because I wrote like my own note here. It says like, Harry Potter is so often like plot, like heavy, dense plot, interwoven with amazing world building. And I think that's exactly what you're getting right here.
Yeah.
Like this is like the enticing, like, I want to go live there. I want to go do that. That sounds amazing. This seems so whimsical, so exciting, so fun. But you're right. Yeah, like everything, from the basic things of creamy chunks of, nougat, shimmering pink squares of coconut ice, fat honey-colored toffees. It's like everything sounds so good.
I just want them all.
I know.
What did we tried everything at Honeydukes once.
Yes, we did.
What did I think it was like the Choco chocolate or something was what we determined was the best bang for your buck.
Yes, or do we also like the Fizzing Whizbees, or was that like just chocolate?
One of them was like
it's hard to remember.
It's hard to remember. We made a video about it. We can link to it.
We'll link it down below.
But it was like, I think it was weird judging because it's like, are you trying to do the best tasting thing, or it's like, what is the most? Because everything. If you go to Honeydukes at Universal, is like clearly it's not magical for real. So sadly, but it's like what is the most whimsical candy you can get that makes it feel the most magical? Yeah,
it's like almost what you want is something that will like play with your senses a little bit, or has like a wow factor to it. So like I think whatever we ended up liking was either like spicy or had like a crackliness, almost like Pop Rocks to it or something.
I think it was one of those too.
Yeah. And it's this was like actually like one of my chief complaints, because I mean Universal otherwise does such an absolutely phenomenal job of making the entire experience incredibly like immersive and fun and entertaining and exciting and stuff. Like it gives you a lot of this stuff, but it was one of those areas where I was like, candy feels like one of those places where you can make the experience of engaging with it really fun.
Yeah, I mean this is like the whole premise of the movie Willy Wonka.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it was almost like it almost felt like, if you get like the chocolate frog, for example, it comes in like an amazing piece of packaging, and the chocolate frog cards are really neat and stuff, but then you've got like a small brick of chocolate, which is like, it's like I don't really know anybody that like eats 8 ounces of just chocolate.
Of solid chocolate.
Yeah, it's like teeth breaking.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't remind me of like the chocolate frog that jumps out of the window on the train.
No, which
like
for whatever
sort of
reason,
like nice soft looking chocolate.
Yeah, like in my mind, it's almost got like caramel and peanuts in it or something.
Yeah,
like, they're like the guts of the frog.
Exactly,
but like tasty.
But tasty.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, don't get the chocolate frogs. I mean, there's the novelty of having the cards, but like the chocolate's terrible.
Yeah, you can put one on your desk as like a paperweight.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on from that.
We will.
So let's see. Then he just runs into Ron and Hermione, who just happened to be there.
That works
convenient.
out well.
Works out well. Works out real well.
Yeah.
But they're good for them. Then Harry tells them about the map, and Ron appropriately is like, "How come Fred and George never gave it to me? I'm their brother." Oh, Ron, you're right. You probably should have been the one. They also didn't tell you there was a man sleeping in your bed. So, there's more qualms you could have. Although possibly Peter doesn't show up on the map. So.
Possibly, yeah, because the Marauders themselves may not appear on the map specifically so that they can't be found if it ends up in the wrong hands.
Except to each other.
Yes. Which is how Lupin could see
Peter.
Yeah.
Yes, the map never lies.
The map never lies.
Yes. Let's see. This says, okay, so Hermione tells him to turn the map in. It's way too dangerous. And this is the interesting thing is that Harry's reasoning, which I mean, sure, he's just coming up with any reason at all, says, Filch would know Fred and George had nicked it. And it's like, well, one, I doubt it. And two, he would already know that, right?
Wait, where are you? Sorry.
I'm just like down in the middle of the page where he's like giving Hermione a reason not to turn the map in.
Oh,
he's
yes.
I was like, Fred and George would get in trouble. Filch would know they took it. And it's like, he would already know they took it, right? Like,
oh, almost certainly. Yeah, due to because the second dong bomb and the rapid escape that ensued. Yeah.
Right. Like,
yeah, Harry's logic is a little bit like, but I mean, what it really sounds like is like, no, it's my new toy and I don't want to give it back.
Oh, that's exactly what he's actually saying, for sure. Reading between the lines, for sure.
Right.
Yes.
And then it says, what about Sirius Black? He could be using one of the passages on the map to get into the castle. And it's like, he did help create the map.
Oh, this is one of the other big hints in the chapter that helps you solve for Scabbers. It says he can't be getting through the passage to Terry quickly. There are 7 secret tunnels on the map, right? Fred and George reckon he knows about 4 of them. One of them's caved in. One's got the Whomping Willow on it, and the one I just came through, well, it's really hard to see. So unless he knew it was there, and it's like, oh, first of all, he does know it was there.
Oh,
because he solved for it, and then Harry even thinks like, what if Black did know the passage was there? And it's like, there, boom, he knows. He does know. This is how he's doing it.
Right.
And it's like that if you can like rely on that information, then you can also possibly assume that Sirius is one of the map makers.
Okay. Yes.
You know, like
yes.
No one knows about it. Apparently, no one knows about this, but clearly Mooney, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs did know about it.
Right.
And
so
if Sirius knows about it, then he must be one of them.
Right. And then if you start thinking about like the Grim, the big black dog that keeps appearing,
right.
you know, and you start to think about like what the names Padfoot and Wormtail in particular could be descriptors of, because I mean, it is something that helps to know that, like, I mean, you could think of like Wormtail and think like possum maybe, but like, you know, it's there are not many things. I mean, you might think Padfoot like wolf,
right,
know, or something
you could
similar.
think wolf, you could think dog, but like because he's been running into a dog, like you could jump to like you could try and figure out, is Sirius Black one of these 4 things, and like could any of them apply to him in any way? And this is like if you did a little extra, like if you know that Sirius means dog anyway,
right? Yeah,
you
like
know,
the dog
like
star.
the constellation or whatever. Then you could really be like, okay, is there a dog? And it's like, oh, could Padfoot be the dog?
Right.
And then it's like, if Padfoot is the dog, then you might be trying to figure out who are the other 3.
Right.
And by the end of the chapter, you can absolutely do it.
Yes.
Well, you might not know what prong. You can figure out that James is Prongs, but you probably can't figure out that he's a deer or a stag.
I mean,
that's hard.
I think you will be able to have figured out his 3 best friends, and then I think even like the Boggart lesson with like the glowing orb.
You can solve for Mooney at this point,
right? Like the Mooney, you might be able to start tethering it to like some werewolf conversations and knowing like the lore attached to werewolves, which is probably like one of the easier, more well-known pieces of lore that exists outside of the Harry Potter books anyway. So you could definitely start to be like, okay. I think I know who everyone is.
Right. So you don't know about Peter Pettigrew yet. You don't know that they even hung out with him. You haven't even heard his name.
Right.
Just that there was a wizard who he killed.
Right.
So that part is still a mystery. We're not there yet. But anyway, they finished convincing Hermione that it's okay. And he says, anyway, Hermione, the Honeydukes would hear a break-in, wouldn't they? They live over the shop. And it's just like, nope, that's just not true.
Yeah. I mean,
good reasoning, but also, nope, he just gets by him.
They're grasping at straws in a way that, like, I have to imagine when writing, you oftentimes are staring at the page, or possibly even your editor returns it to you, and they're like, you need a line that explains why they didn't ask the obvious question.
Yeah,
you know,
all the time.
And it's like, this feels like one of those where it's like, wasn't anybody wondering? And it's like, we included a line specifically to try to like dissuade you from asking this particular question.
Exactly.
Yep.
So there, and it's like you're on Harry's side here. You're like, Hermione's clearly just being annoying, and you're like, dude, let him keep the map, girl. Yeah, come on. Especially that it's going to carry over to the next chapter where she's like, oh, don't keep the broom either. It's like, Hermione,
stop telling me to give away all my cool things.
Come on, dude. Should I hand over the invisibility cloak too? Probably.
Don't even ask.
Don't even ask.
Don't ask questions you don't want the answers to.
Come on, Hermione. No. Yep. Yeah. Ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies, you know?
Yeah. There you go.
So anyway, let's see. They go on just picking out candy, jelly slugs as well. Even Ron's in on this. Says mom walloped who is it, Fred, for giving him an acid pop and burning a hole in his tongue.
I know. Yeah, it's the exact phrasing is, when I was 7, it burnt a hole right through my tongue. And I'm like, who is buying acid pops?
I know, right? Why did they let him even buy it?
I don't even know. You're going to have your tongue in a sling for at least 2 months for that.
I know, right?
That's a Draco Malfoy reference.
I know, right?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Boy, get someone fired.
Some of these things do seem awfully dangerous, but then even Ron says, reckon Fred would take a bit of cockroach cluster if I told him they were peanuts. And it's like, Fred, you think you're going to get Fred with cockroach clusters.
You think so? It's also like, I love how like Ron thinks this is some hilarious joke, and then Dumbledore's just like, cockroach clusters?
The best.
Delicious. I'll make it a password.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, then Ron suggests to go to the Three Broomsticks, and I love this sentence. It says, Ron came back 5 minutes later carrying 3 foaming tankards of hot butterbeer, which to me reads like Ron, like his friend sat down, and Ron, who has no money, goes and buys his friend drinks anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
doesn't care.
He is excited to go and order from Madame Rosmerta in particular.
Well, there is that, but like Ron is always caught up on how little money he has, but like it does not stop his generosity.
No, I know. I do love that as well. And the coldness that has been depicted in the foaming hot butterbeer.
Oh, dude, there's a sentence here. Right? This might be the most profitable sentence in all of literature.
Okay.
It says, it was the most delicious thing he'd ever tasted and seemed to heat every bit of him from the inside. And it's like, well, that sentence alone might have made the Wizarding World more money than any other sentence in the whole series.
Like, because how many butterbeers at an extreme premium price have been sold because all of us want to know this
Everyone
feeling.
wants to know that feeling right there. It's like if you go to Universal, whether you eat at the Wizarding World, whether you buy a wand, whether you get anything, I can guarantee you the one thing you bought while you were at Hogsmeade was the butterbeer. Butterbeer.
Everybody
didn't skip that.
Yeah, everybody will indulge the $8 or whatever it costs to get a cup of the butterbeer.
$13 in New York.
Yeah, that was a little
a little steep, but
but
that's exactly my point.
But we still did it.
We did it because you're not going to skip the butterbeer,
right? And it came with a novelty mug, which my daughter Addison drinks out of.
You were not
every
allowed
day.
to not get the novelty mug.
You were not allowed to get the.
That was where I think the price was being hiked at New York.
It's okay. It's okay.
It doesn't matter because you know what? I don't even regret it. I don't even regret it.
Yeah. So I highlighted that exact sentence, and I wrote next to it, "Wizarding World at its finest."
Yeah. I mean, it is. It is. This is like, you know, it's when you're thinking about, like, and we always joke about, like, at the end of every superhero, like, season, like a TV show, they're always just having a barbecue in the back. You know, it's like, this is what we're aiming for. This is that life we want. And it's like, this is it. This is what you're aiming. This is what you're protecting.
Yes.
You know, you're fighting Voldemort so you can go have a drink, have some butterbeer in the cold with your friends at the Three Broomsticks. I was like, oh, that just sounds so good.
I know. And if you're looking for something, I know that we're currently, as of recording, we're still like in August, but we did do a wonderful collab with a local coffee shop here in Roanoke, Virginia, where we made butterbeer lattes. And I can't say that ours that we made was spectacular, but the one in the instructions that were included by the barista who we were working with was truly amazing. So if you want to check out that video, it's, you know, more than anything, it is just for your sake to go and have the closest thing to the experience, to that phrase we just read.
Yeah. If you're in Roanoke, you know.
Yeah.
Whatever. Let's see. And then comes in just the most unusual grouping of people ever. Like, these 4 people are hanging out in their free time. We got McGonagall, McGonagall and Flitwick, I can see. You know what? I can see it. Right. And then Hagrid, I could even see him being in this group of people. Maybe, you know, they're all on staff together. They're all professors. But then you got Fudge. In here just hanging out with the teachers. And it's like, I can see him hanging out with McGonagall. I could see him hanging out with Flitwick. It seems unlikely that he'd hang out with Hagrid.
It does seem a scooch unlikely, especially kind of like where the rest of this book will go.
Yeah.
Where like the Ministry is sort of like very, I mean, even last book, like where they come and take Hagrid to Azkaban.
Oh my gosh, I know. Yeah.
Like
this, what is Fudge's journey with Hagrid here? Last book takes him to Azkaban. Now he has to like eat his hat and be like, whoops, sorry about that. Now they're having drinks. But later this book, you're not going to give him the benefit of the doubt again?
I know.
Come on, dude.
Yeah. How influential is Lucius Malfoy?
I mean, apparently a ton.
Yeah.
So anyway, everyone's like, oh my God, don't let him see Harry here. Everyone's going to freak out. Hermione whispers, Mobliarbus, which I guess Arbus, is like, I don't know. This is another trivia question. Mobliarbus.
Yeah, well, Arbus means, I mean, like it's tree. Basically Latin for move tree.
Yeah.
When you said the most obscure, I thought you were going to say spell we've ever seen.
Yeah, that's what,
not the most obscure collection of people, but yeah, it's like, this is such a niche spell.
Mobliarbus.
It's like,
why do you even know that? How many trees are you moving around?
That's
Hermione?
exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
What are you, a landscape architect? I mean, I could see it, honestly. I bet she'd be great at it, but still. But there is another, it kind of reminds me of like when the owls land on Harry's bed with like a flump. It says that the tree The Christmas tree beside their table rose a few inches off the ground, drifted sideways, and landed with a soft thump. And it's like, yeah.
I know the soft thump of a Christmas tree.
Yeah. I've dropped many a Christmas tree in my day.
Yeah, no doubt.
I haven't. That's a lie.
And then Marauder brings over their drinks, and I just love Hagrid's order of 4 pints of mulled mead. Like, how big is the cup, man? How big is a 4-pint cup?
I mean, it is precisely 4 pints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I'm thinking like pint glass. Like, I know how big that is, and I'm trying to like. I'm
curious. So we have like one of the novelty souvenir buckets of popcorn from like the movie theater upstairs. I'd be curious to fill it with 4 pints of liquid and see how close it is. To like filling it up, because it does seem like 4 pints is a lot.
I know. I mean, especially. I mean, I know Hagrid is huge, but like 4 pints of mulled mead, like, I mean, it's just a lot. It's not even like beer, it's not ale. It's like wine.
It's like wine, but wine made from honey, right?
That's mead. It's honey wine.
I love Flitwick's order though of a cherry syrup and soda with ice and umbrella.
Yeah, so non-alcoholic for Flitwick.
Yeah. And then a red currant rum for the minister.
Yes.
Which just sounds sort of like
and McGonagall gets the gilly water.
The gilly water. Yep.
A small gilly water.
All of those could be trivia questions, and I would fail at all of them, other than maybe Hagrid's mulled mead.
I think I would remember the cherry syrup soda.
Yeah. All the descriptors. There's a few going on there.
Cherry syrup with soda. Is that like a Shirley Temple? Is that what he's ordering?
It might be a Shirley Temple.
That's what he's getting.
Yeah. That's kind of delightful for Flitwick there.
Dude, I remember when I think we were at like a Mexican restaurant when we were kids, and Dad got everyone Shirley Temples, and it was like the best.
I think I remember the exact occasion you speak of. It was like
so fun.
What is this?
I know.
Is it our birthday?
I know. I was like, I think that was one of those. Is like, Dad's just hanging out with the kids. Mom's not here. I'm getting everyone Shirley Temples.
We're doing it.
We're doing it.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see. I love how, so what's about to happen is Harry is about to eavesdrop the crap out of this conversation.
Yes.
But before they start talking about it, because Rosamarta is asking about like what's the worst of it about what Sirius Black did, Harry saw the lower part of Fudge's thick body twisted his chair as though we were checking for eavesdroppers, and it's just like, dude, bad check.
Yeah, like you missed the person who shouldn't be overhearing.
Yeah, right.
You.
Let me do a quick turn to make sure Harry Potter's not here. I guess he's not.
I guess we're good. Only his classmates.
Yeah, only his 2 best friends.
McGonagall, would you say that those 2 lads right there at that table next to the Christmas tree, do they look like Harry's best friends?
Yeah, it's like, first of all, McGonagall and Hagrid 1,000% know Hermione and Ron are Harry's best friends.
So they go and have this whole conversation, but before they do, let's see here. They like bring up like Sirius Black. I heard what happened up at the school on Halloween, and Madame Rosmerta says, I did hear a rumor, and McGonagall like scolds Hagrid and says, did you tell the whole pub, Hagrid? And I'm like, y'all are about to tell the whole pub a whole bunch of stuff.
I know, you're about to tell her a whole lot worse, and also like, should you not be telling people that he broke into the castle?
I know, yeah.
Don't tell the parents.
They'll start pulling them all from school.
We have a reputation. This is why everyone thinks Hogwarts is the safest place, because no one's allowed to tell the parents all the crazy stuff that happens.
Precisely. Yep.
Oh my gosh. And then so Fudge says he's just talked to the Dementors. They're in a fury against Dumbledore. He won't let them inside the castle grounds. And it's like, well, that's been true the whole time.
Right, yeah. That's never really been like up for grabs. So.
Yeah. It's not like they were in there and it's like, get out. Let's see. And then we start getting a lot more information about Sirius. Rosmerta's like, of all the people to go over to the dark side. And, he says, oh, the worst he did isn't widely known. What could possibly be worse than murdering all those people?
This is, of course, in reference to Sirius Black.
Yeah. Yes, but see, so then we get the starting to get the big reveals here where McGonagall says, do you remember who his best friend was? And just naturally, never saw one without the other, did you? The number of times I had them in here, they used to make me laugh. Quite the double act, Sirius Black and James Potter. What?
Mic drop. More like tankard drop.
I know, or 4-pint barrel drop.
I know. Yeah, so
pony keg drop.
Right. And you're starting to get more of the picture of what we know to be the reality behind the situation, because so far it seems like Sirius has largely only ever been depicted pretty much in the like from the moment where he commits the crime or is believed to have committed the crime that Peter actually commits onward. Yeah. But nobody has really talked. Like, we know that Hagrid borrowed Sirius Black's motorbike. from the Potters the night that he delivers Harry to the Dursleys. But that is the only detail that we know that is not like nefarious attached to the character.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden it just sounds like they were both very bright, of course, exceptionally bright, in fact.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've ever had such a pair of troublemakers. And then, they kind of compared to Fred and George, which even that sort of is like...
That right there, that's another big one. So Hagrid brings up, he says, Fred and George could give him a run for their money. And that, to me, is the connective, map tissue.
Okay.
That that, Fred and George figured out the map. If you already think Sirius must have been one of the map makers, now you have to think James must have been one of the map makers as well.
Yep.
And it says the ringleaders of their little gang. So there must have been 4 of them together. And you could probably figure out Remus at this point, too, based on Mooney. Not that you maybe would know that James is Prongs or Wormtail just yet.
Right.
But you're going to find out that who the 4th member of the gang is. And once you know that it's... Well, I guess you don't necessarily know that Remus is part of the gang. You can maybe guess. Because Snape has been like, you've heard me. When you hired someone, I thought they might be helping Black. And you might have reason to think that Remus and Sirius are friends.
You could, yeah. I mean, it's still working against your natural instincts to have that. But to the highly skeptical eye, I think you could maybe sort it.
You could get there. So at least there's two members of a 4-person gang are James and Sirius at this point.
Right.
And then we also get the information that James and Lily named Sirius godfather to Harry, and Harry has no idea. You can imagine how the idea would torment him. That's what? And then this is interesting here. It says, not many people are aware that the Potters knew You-Know-Who was after them. Dumbledore, who was, of course, working tirelessly against You-Know-Who, had a number of useful spies. And I'm like, who is the useful spy here? Trelawney?
Or would it be Snape?
Snape, I guess. But when Snape talks to him, he already knows. He's already hidden the Potters.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So it's maybe I think their impression is that Dumbledore had a spy who tipped them off.
Okay.
But it's he already knew because he just heard the prophecy directly.
But Dumbledore has never spoken of the prophecy to anybody.
To anyone.
Because the only people who will eventually know it are Dumbledore and Harry himself.
Yeah.
Which actually makes sense with the line that I think we're about to get that kind of threw me off as I was reading the chapter, but maybe this is part of what helps piece it together, because at some point in time, Fudge will basically say that barely a week after the Fidelius charm had been performed is when Black betrayed them.
Yeah.
And it's we know that basically from the time Harry is born, they've been underneath the Fidelius charm for over a year, right?
Right. I mean, at least... Because they're already in hiding by the time Snape tells him.
Because we know that from Lily's letter to Sirius at some point in time, we know that Sirius did not attend Harry's first birthday party because she thanks him for the broomstick, because Sirius loves to gift Harry broomsticks, apparently.
Right. And if Sirius couldn't come on July 31st.
Right. And they're not attacked until October 31st. So at bare minimum, it was 3 months that they were in hiding. That is the absolute smallest amount of time.
And then there's the line where it's Wormy was here. He seemed down. And it's because he knows.
Because he knows, yeah. And Wormtail could be there because he'd be the secret keeper.
Exactly. Yeah, so there's that. It makes you wonder. It makes it seem like Sirius must have given the letter to Peter to bring to the Potters, because otherwise there'd be nowhere to get the mail.
True. Also true. Yep.
Or vice versa. Lily would have given it to Peter to bring to Sirius. Never mind. Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. I think that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. And then there's some other information on this page as well that we get to learn about the Fidelius charm, an immensely complex spell. Information's hidden inside of another person. This is all such a confusing spell altogether, because it's sort of why weren't they the secret keepers for each other? Why wasn't it Dumbledore? Or could you be your own secret keeper kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't know. And I think a lot of what's supposed to be going on here with that is there's an inherent ironclad nature to the way that these friends viewed each other, which is to say that it would almost be an honor. It's not that it's an unimportant assignment for anybody in life, but the selection of a godparent it feels rather ceremonial. Because the obvious intention, goal, hope, is that it will never come to pass.
Yeah.
So to like assign somebody the role of godparent is like to designate them as like an important person in this child's life. And I'm sure that many godparents hold a significant amount of responsibility attached to that. But obviously the best case scenario is that it never comes. You never use it.
Right.
Like you never have to fully administer the godparent responsibility. So like I feel like that's a lot of like what Lily and James are doing here is it's like we need somebody we can like, there's some strategy to like how they go about it. But it also feels like they would just trust each other. They have no doubt in their friends.
No doubt.
And I feel like that's mostly what's going on here.
Yeah, that you can try and poke holes in it as much as you want, but like the reason it's not anyone else is because it's supposed to demonstrate the trust they have in Sirius and or Peter.
Yeah.
Let's see. On the next page it says Fudge is still explaining. Says Black was tired of his double agent role. He was ready to declare his support openly for you-know-who, that's all assumption. You don't know that at all. Let's see. And then Hagrid goes down and says, talks about having run into him. Said, just got him out of the ruins, or finding Harry. He says, just got him out of the ruins, poor little thing, with a great slash across his forehead and his parents dead. And Sirius Black turns up on that flying motorbike he used to ride. Never occurred to me what he was doing there. It's like, yep. Oh, if you go back in chapter 1, yes, Hagrid talks about this exact thing.
I know. Yeah. Yep. So that's like good. Like, it's established incredibly early and like comes through very cleanly now in the future.
Yeah. And then he talks about the conversation he has, and Sirius says, give Harry to me, Hagrid. I'm his godfather. I'll look after him. Ha! But I'd had me orders from Dumbledore, and I told Black no. And it's just like, oh, but what if you had, Hagrid? What if you had? Sirius, what if you'd gotten there first,
I know. Yeah, well, he even says, like, what if I'd given Harry to him? And I said, it would make a really great video series is what would happen.
It sure would. Yeah, if you want to see our video on that, we've made that video.
Yeah.
I think that was our first one. What if Sirius had raised Harry, maybe?
Could have been. I know that.
No,
like,
I think it's what if Sirius. I don't even remember.
It doesn't matter. I know the thing we always do whenever Sirius raises Harry is that like Harry is like a tick more James-like in nature because he would like Sirius sees him as James in a lot of ways, to a fault at times probably, and so it's like what you would have is a version of Harry who has Lily's goodness innately in him because there's no taking Lily from Harry in who she is as a person, but you would have somebody who has been raised very early in a wizarding household by somebody who is highly gifted in magic.
In magic, and it's kind of amplifying that James trait.
Yeah,
for sure.
Raising a new best friend.
Yeah. Hagrid brings up a weird, a long-standing question in the fandom here, where he says he loved that motorbike. What was he giving it to me for? Which is interesting because even with the motorbike, Hagrid shows up late to Privet Drive later the next day.
True.
But like the question is, even with the motorbike, he shows up late, but it's still a whole day later. So there's this big question of Hagrid's missing day.
Yeah,
what was Hagrid doing with Harry for a full 24 hours? We don't know.
Getting ice cream.
And how else was he going to get to Privet Drive? Because he could fly, and this was still slower than
Right.
Dumbledore expected.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good point. Yeah. It is an unusual one because, we know that McGonagall's been watching outside of the Dursleys all day.
Yeah.
And that means that like she would only be watching them because she's expecting this to be the location where Harry goes. And, so it's like obviously everything happened the night prior and Dumbledore doesn't get there until that night when Hagrid rather arrives.
Yeah. So I guess maybe he talks to McGonagall at some point.
Maybe so.
Yeah. I guess Dumbledore even says that, doesn't he? He says like, what are you doing here? And I think she says like, Hagrid, talk to me or something.
Oh, okay.
That's right. Huh. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, now we get introduced to Peter Pettigrew, where it says that the Ministry of Magic is trying to catch up with him the next day. And Fudge says, alas, if only we had. It was not we who found him. It was little Peter Pettigrew. Another of the Potter's friends, maddened by grief, no doubt, and knowing that Black had been the Potter's secret keeper, he went after Black himself. Never quite in their league talent-wise. And they talk about, Rose Murder says, Pettigrew, the fat little boy who was always tagging around after them at Hogwarts. So there you go. At this point, you can peg Pettigrew as one of the other Marauders.
Yes.
So you at least know James, Sirius, and Peter. And at that point, if you can figure out that Sirius is Padfoot, you can start to wonder, and you can figure out that Lupin is Moony, you can start to wonder about Wormtail and sort of see how the naming convention is going for the map.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just like, okay, like Lupin turns into a werewolf, he's Mooney. Sirius can turn into the dog, that's Padfoot. So what animal has a worm tail? And at that point, you could probably land on rat because there's not a very long list.
No.
And if you think that, then you just have to wonder, are there any important rats in the story? And there's really only one.
Just the
one. It
one.
would be, it's Occam's razor or something where or I think there's a Sherlock quote where it's like, whatever's left, however improbable, must be true, or whatever.
Right.
It's like how could it be Scabbers? And it'd be like, doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's literally the only important rat in the story.
Right. And again, it goes back to that thought of, if you're going episodically and looking at these things one by one, it would be like, well, do we know that wizards can turn into animals? And I mean, I guess we know McGonagall, obviously.
Yeah. And she had her lesson about Animagi.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's even more that's like been brought up in this very book, suggesting like this shape-shifting nature.
Yeah. And then I love this, or Fudge is recounting what Muggles tell him about how the interaction went down, and they told us how Pettigrew cornered Black, and they say he was sobbing. Lily and James, Sirius, how could you? And it's like, oh, Peter is quick on his feet. This is so sly.
It is very strange the way that like Peter can sort of like shift between being so like inept, maybe not great at anything, clumsy, fumbling, bumbling.
But this is like, it's like people mistake Peter for like not being good at magic, but like he is an animagus.
It's true.
And he does bring Voldemort back, and it's like he can do magic. He is good at it.
Right.
He's just always standing next to James and Sirius, and he is a coward.
Right.
In the meantime.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very interesting to see the way that like Peter was able to look at the optics and like figure it out very quickly and be like, everybody's gonna think it's you.
Everyone's gonna think it's you.
Yeah.
Everyone already does. Oh, and then I love Hagrid's line here. He says, I tell you, if I'd got to Black before little Pettigrew did. It's like, you literally did. You literally did. Like you were the only other person to get to him before Peter.
Yeah, I'd have ripped him limb from limb, Hagrid growled. It's like, well, you didn't.
But you didn't.
In fact, you took his aid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And then I love, this is another Azkaban guard situation we have here, where he says, you don't know what you're talking about, Hagrid, said Fudge. Nobody but a trained hit wizard from the magical law enforcement squad would have stood a chance against Black. And I'm like,
Or
don't have a word for that yet, do we?
Yeah, that's so funny you said that, because I was like, what are hit wizards?
Yeah. Horrors.
Horrors. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yep, nailed it in one. The whole scene though is kind of interesting as well, because it's like when you read it, it is pretty like it sounds bad for Sirius, because it's like Black standing there laughing with what was left of Pettigrew in front of him, a heap of bloodstained robes and a few fragments. The fragments, of course, we know is the finger that Wormtail cut off, which you can't know until you know later. But the Black standing there laughing looks bad.
It looks bad.
It's like
absolutely
anybody witnessing this is sort of like, but I mean, I think at this point in time, he is in basically like a manic trauma response kind of state where it's just sort of like everything. Everything.
It is like, what is going on? I think he realizes that he's been framed.
Yes.
And he's just like, oh my gosh, I've been had the better of.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
By Peter.
Yeah, by Peter. It's like, it's all very hilarious. It's like he's like laughing at himself. It's like, it's my fault. It's my fault. I did it. It should have been me. I should have been the secret keeper. I said it would be Peter, but Peter turned on them. It's my fault. And now he's framed me. It's hilarious. Look how it's all crumbling around me.
I know. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's very much as though, I mean, we know that Sirius, for all intents and purposes, like effectively blames himself. I mean, he holds himself responsible.
Here's the thing. People are like, what if they held trial for Sirius? Why didn't they do that? And it's like, it wouldn't have mattered.
Sirius would have just been like, it was me.
Yeah, it's like, did you kill the Potters? It's like, I may as well have. It's my fault they're dead. It'd be like, Sirius, calm it down. You're like, I'm your wizard lawyer, and
yeah, it's like I need to know more. When you say you may as well have, what do you mean you may as well have? Like, because you told Voldemort where they were? It's like, no. It's like, then explain further, please.
Right.
Wizard lawyers.
Yeah, I know, right? Where's that job?
Yeah,
feels like they need them.
It does feel like that could be useful.
Oh boy. Fudge mentions that Pettigrew received the Order of Merlin First Class, which gross.
I know, it's very frustrating to hear that. It's like, no, you must be kidding me.
No. Then we get another clue about Black here. It says, yes, I met Black on my last inspection of Azkaban. You know, most of the prisoners in there sit muttering to themselves in the dark. There's no sense in them, but I was shocked at how normal Black seemed. It's like, yep. Totally normal as well. And then it says, asked if I finished my newspaper. Cool as you please. Said he missed doing the crossword. And this is your tip for how Sirius learned Pettigrew was free, because this is the newspaper clipping with the Weasleys in it.
It's such a narrow.
It is so narrow.
Narrow opportunity for this to work out.
I know. It's like right there, but that's it. That's your clue. I mean, it's hard for you to know when he was there inspecting the prison.
Right.
Oh, yep. But there it was. Let's see. And then they go for... This is interesting because Fudge says, I must say, you know who alone and friendless is one thing, but give him back his most devoted servant, and I shudder to think how quickly he'll rise again. Which is sort of like, this is sort of a weird thing for you to be afraid of right now, and then later you're like, nah, he's not back. It's like you're actively afraid of exactly what happening, and then when it happens, you're like, it didn't happen.
It didn't happen. I know, yeah. I wrote the exact same thing, so I highlighted the same sentences, and I was like, he seems so much more open to this possibility right now for some reason, and I'm not sure if it's just sort of because he's like a little bit on like the ropes, and it's like maybe, it's like this is almost like his primary concern at all times, and there is someone he believes to be dangerous on the loose. And so it's kind of like my worst nightmare might be about to unfold. But then, basically, I guess like fast forward a year and he's sort of like, the wizarding world's going great other than Cedric dying.
Oh, I know. And it's like, he's like, he won't believe he's back. And it's like, as far as Fudge is concerned, when Voldemort comes back, he still thinks Sirius is on the run.
Yes.
Right? And it's like, he won't believe that he came back, even though right here he is exactly afraid that Sirius Black is going to help bring Voldemort back.
Exactly.
And as far as he's concerned, Sirius is still at large, and now they're saying Voldemort's back.
Right.
It's like, dude, like, you'd be still wrong about the right person, but like, you were afraid of it happening, and it did.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's really weird, and it's very frustrating later when his tone shifts just absolutely, completely, and entirely.
Yeah.
But either which way, it is kind of like bringing us to the end of the chapter, where finally the conversation, this massive like dump of information on Harry, has kind of been concluded. We see Madame Rosmerta's glittering heels disappear behind the bar, and at this point in time, Harry, Ron, and Hermione, who have all been listening, Ron and Hermione look down and say, "Harry," and they were just both staring at him, lost for words.
It's a lot to take in all at once.
It is a lot to take in. It's a huge piece of like information.
Huge piece of information. We finally have the answer to like, why everyone's concerned that Harry is going to go looking for Black, and why Draco was saying, if it were me, I'd want revenge. And it's like, now you get it. Now you understand why everyone thinks Harry would want revenge. So we at least have this piece of the puzzle solved. And if you were super duper duper savvy, you might have been able to solve for Scabbers, but I really doubt it.
I really doubt it as well. I think because it's like, it's easy to say when you have hindsight on your side. So I feel like we're trying to offer the best possible suggestions as to what you could be looking for if you were like extremely keen. But I also think like, in the context of reading this, the month it came out or whatever as kids, like you were just trying to tear through the book as quickly as possible. You weren't stopping at every chapter, folding it on your knee and thinking like, okay, let me contemplate for 3 to 4 hours about what's happening next.
Right, because you don't need to contemplate to like get, you'll just figure it out if you finish the book.
Yeah, you just keep reading.
Yeah.
It's an easy read. It's not going to take you a long time to get through this book.
Yeah,
but no, I mean, although that being said, it took us almost 2 hours to get through this chapter. So,
well, we got a lot to say. This is an important chapter.
It's an important chapter. I mean, it's one of the more important chapters of the whole series.
Yeah.
So it's this was a big one to spend a lot of time on, and lots of important details kind of coming out of there. But I loved it. I think this is like a chapter that I think does all of what Harry Potter does well at its best. It's people always say like, that Prisoner is one of their favorite books, if not their favorite book, and like I think this chapter is why.
It is absolutely part of it. I mean, you get like a fun magical artifact. You've got, you go to Hogsmeade, you get to go to Honeydukes, you go to the Three Broomsticks, you get huge plot developments.
Yes. Like really, really big, good stuff. Even learning stuff about like early Lily and James Potter, like that is scarce, few and far between moments in the saga. Like you get this chapter piece of information, you get Snape's worst memory, you get the Prince's Tale, but like, and then like a handful of like tidbits from like Sirius and Lupin, like, James was an idiot in high school. Like, was he doing the thing with a snitch? Like, and like whatever. But it's like you don't get a lot of information about these people who are vitally important to everything.
Right.
So yeah, just getting that glimpse into the past, so much fun. Do you want to tackle a review?
Yeah, we got a review here.
Okay, lay it on me.
This is from Teddy H.
Teddy H.
They say, hey, brother, I love the podcast and your YouTube channel and diving into the Harry Potter and other franchises. My question is Quidditch the only sport in the wizarding world? It would be really weird, but that's what it feels like. It's not like that in the real world. There are hundreds of sports, even tons of sports just for one country or even one city. From a loyal Hufflepuff.
Yeah, that's a great question, especially like as we're recording, the Olympics is currently going on, and the frequency at which there are activities where, over the weekend, not that I'm unfamiliar with this being an Olympic sport, but you just don't think about it that often, like archery was on TV, and like even the gamification of archery to me, I was kind of like, this is plumb fascinating. Like within seconds, I knew how the sport worked, who was good at it, what a good score was. Like you were just like, all right, I'm in.
I love all the Olympic memes where it's just like me turning on the Olympics, or me like I don't know if I'm going to watch it this year. And then it's like you 10 minutes in, and it's like, wow, his form is really off.
I know. Yeah,
he was a world champion last year.
This is so unlike him.
Right, yeah, it's very unlike this guy. It's like you've never heard of that guy until 5 minutes ago.
I know. The funniest thing in the world is probably to be sitting there watching alongside somebody else, having somebody new walk in the room and say, what's going on, and then listening to the person who only just learned the rules 30 seconds ago explain it to somebody else as if they've known their whole life. But I think that's the art form of the Olympics, which is a completely non-Harry Potter related conversation.
It is not. Although, as you brought up archery, I'm like, I feel like long distance spell casting would absolutely be a sport.
It does seem like it would be a great sport. Yeah.
Just knock over that can 100 meters away with your wand. Like, come on, long distance, let's go.
Yeah, distance cursing.
Yeah, distance cursing or whatever, right?
I
you have like
that.
a really long wands that shoot super straight,
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? Yeah, a little
specialty
sight
sport
on the
wands.
End.
Yes.
Dueling is just simply another one that feels like like just simply duel to disarm.
Yeah.
It seems like it would
we
be.
know that's a wizard sport because Flitwick was a champion at it.
Precisely. Yeah, you're right. So that's it. Yeah. So that one just fits like a glove. We of course also have like gobstones.
We have gobstones. We have exploding snap. We have chess.
Yeah. So these are they feel less like sports, more like games.
Yeah. Hagrid, plays cards with people, so they even just have like regular playing cards and stuff that they play sort of Muggle games with. However, Ben, I was also curious about this, so I looked up and I want to see if you've heard of any of these wizard sports.
Lay them on me. I'll see if I can explain them.
Okay. So first one, also before I get into the weird ones, we know that like the firebolt is described as like a racing broom. So broomstick racing is in fact a sport.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. That. I'm so glad you brought that up because I remember seeing the racing broom thing, and it's almost like sometimes like not all tools are the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'm like, is the firebolt would it make sense for like keepers to use one?
Oh, I know.
Because it's almost like if it's like too nimble, if it's too quick, like you could like overshoot.
Yeah.
Or something.
Or like in lacrosse, like the goalie's stick is like a really wide mouth on it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's better for blocking stuff. All right. Have you ever heard of I looked up. These are real other wizard sports. Okay. First we have a Swivenhodge.
I don't have the slight. It seems Swedish to me, or like Scandinavian.
Don't know exactly the origin country.
It could be like an IKEA dresser,
but it is basically wizard tennis, where they're hitting some sort of inflated ball back and forth across a hedge instead. I'm not sure if they're like using wands to do it or not, but that's the sport. Swivenhodge.
Swivenhodge. Okay.
It's some kind of bladder. Like early Muggle sports often was too.
Okay. Like you're taking like a piece of unusable something from like a game.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
And like hitting it back and forth, and then we have Stitchstock.
No idea.
This is lancing, again, a dragon's bladder atop a 20-foot pole. So you have to like fly up and like try and lance it, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting. Fun. Yeah. Yep. Okay. I like it. Yep. That's creative.
Then we have, this one is no longer allowed, but it is called, can't even pronounce it. I'm going to try. Creathisian.
Wow.
Creathisian? Yeah, I know.
Can't say it tickles anything in the back of my brain.
Yes. Well, this is a broomstick-based sport where competitors battle to catch falling rocks in cauldrons while riding on brooms. But the catch is the cauldrons are strapped to the helmets on top of their head. So they're just catching rocks with their head.
It sounds like like an Asteroids kind of early.
It does.
Like,
I feel like there is a
game
like this.
Yeah,
like
where
a Game and Watch sort of thing.
Yeah, like you're just trying to like move your basket side to side, like a side scroller type situation. Is just like collect all the falling dots.
Yes.
Okay. Yep, that sounds
all right,
good.
And then I have one more for you. It's called Shunt Bumps.
Shunt bumps.
Shunt bumps.
Shunt bumps.
Shunt bumps.
Okay. My mind immediately went to shot put when you said the first one, but now I've lost that completely.
Less so.
So what is a shunt bump?
Shunt bump is a popular game in Devon, England. Players would attempt to knock as many other players off their broomsticks as possible. The winner was the last player still mounted on the broom.
Okay.
Shunt bumps.
Shunt bumps. So hopefully with a cushioning charm.
Yes.
Cast across the surface, which also just seems like Quidditch fields. Quidditch pitches should have.
Yeah. So there you go. Those are other known wizarding canon sports.
Okay. I'm gonna stick to Quidditch.
Yeah. It's easy to see why it's the most popular.
I like the flying cannonballs and the snitch. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I feel like the quaffle could use some work.
It could. Yeah. There's no doubt.
That's another one where I like the idea that the quaffle doesn't hit the ground, that it like would sort of like bounce on like an imaginary surface.
Load up. Yeah. It feels like if you're watching like Little League Quidditch, like people are just constantly diving to the ground.
I mean, because in practicality, unless like, I don't know, I mean, maybe the dexterity of wizards is just truly phenomenal, but it seems like dealing in like, 4 dimensions of space and time, not time, but like it would just be so difficult. Like the ball would be dropped all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, that would be my particular thought. But great question. Great question. Yeah.
There we go.
And thank you for the 5-star as per always.
As per always. And guys, look, if you are really on top of it, you could be the 1,000th person to leave us a review. We have so far got 997 ratings.
Wow.
I know.
That's a call to action if I've ever heard one.
At least on the American like Apple Store. This is the thing I was having trouble with forever, is that if you're looking for reviews, they are sorted by country.
Yes.
So like if you look at the American one, it says 997. If you look at other ones, I would be like, why is there only like a few here? And it'd be like, oh, because I'm looking at the Australia reviews or something.
Right.
Yes. Very annoying that they're not just all put in one place. But at least in America, we've got almost 1,000.
There we go.
So
That's
help
amazing.
help us cross the line.
Help us do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you guys would like to get a little glimpse into some other viewer questions, you can do so via the Owlry on our Patreon page, which you can find at patreon.com/throughthegryffindor. The Owlry has been amazing. We have had questions delivered to us by our trusty snowy owl, Gumpine, who will fly into each episode bearing a letter, and we will then read that letter and answer the questions. It has been really cool so far. I mean, we constantly talk in the wizarding world about like all the videos that we've made, all the theories that we've made, how we feel like we've like scratched the bottom of the Harry Potter, theory barrel a million times.
Turns out no.
We're scraping splinters off the bottom of it, but yeah, it does not stop you guys from coming up with incredible questions that we are then able to answer. So if you want to check that out, again, patreon.com/throughthegryffindor. And if you sign up for that annual membership, you get access to a page from Jay and I's copies of the book, Jay or I's copies of the book, I should say. And they're all like marked up with like little notes and annotations and scribbles and highlights and all sorts of stuff. And they will also all be signed, and that is available at the annual tier for either which way. So
that's right. And we have gone through like a full month now, so we actually are going to start sending out the first pages at this point.
Yes, they've been sliced, they have been cut. We took it to a special print shop where they like carefully with a machine removed the spine from all of our copies of the books, which was like mildly heartbreaking to like witness, but then also like extremely satisfying at the same time. So each page is clean cut, nice and beautiful, and yeah, those will start shipping out as soon as the next week, I believe.
Yeah. So be on the lookout if you are an annual patron for your page coming in the mail very soon.
Yes, indeed.
But otherwise, that is going to do it for us this week. We will see you next week for Chapter 11, The Firebolt, here on Through the Gryffindor.
Today's episode was edited by Ethan Edghill. Vaishon Brandon does our art. Catherine Stein is our production manager, and the show is hosted by me and Jonathan Carlin.